now being placed under a tropical storm warning. So they've been downgraded from the hurricane warning to the tropical storm warning, and we'll likely see that happen as we continue to see Irma move north for our area here through the Tampa Bay region, through the Central Peninsula, and also getting into North Florida too. So here's the latest radar, and here's the latest position of Irma. Notice the storm very strong as a Category 1, 2 as it moved through. And now we're looking at the center of the circulation, which is, of course, much more diffuse than it was a few hours ago when it was very, very compact, creating those strong, strong winds across the area. Now moving away. But we're still looking at some bands of rain offshore that are going to continue to move onshore. And these are the bands of rain that could give us those tropical storm force winds as we go through the next few hours. So right over the Howard Franklin, also over towards the Gandy. We've got rain here this morning through South Tampa, getting towards West Tampa as well. Over the beaches, we're looking at a good swath of some light to moderate rain, and where you see this persistent onshore flow with the rain, this is where we're also seeing the persistent surge continuing. And we have some of our live reporters out there this morning showing that there are areas through Clearwater and St. Pete that have about 1 to 2 feet of water from the storm surge that's been moving in over the last few hours. So we'll continue to watch things here. Hopefully, with the restrictions being lifted here over towards St. Petersburg, that means that things are getting a lot better for us concerning the surge, but it's something our team will keep watching for you through the morning. Same deal for those of you through Bradenton, Sarasota, Siesta Key, Anna Maria Island, all these areas. Still looking at a slight surge potential for us this morning. Thankfully, not as high as what it was forecast yesterday now that the storms moved inland and moved away, but we're still looking at those concerns, and we'll also watch for some of these bands of rain to produce 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts. And those of you north of town, again, the circulation is now moving out of Citrus County, so we're still looking at the potential for 50-plus mile per hour wind gusts here through Citrus County. But notice it's north of Brooksville, north of Zephyr Hills, and we're no longer concerned about a tornado threat back here at home. You can see the red. That's a tornado watch for the Jacksonville area, but for us, we're done with the tornado risk now that the circulation continues to move away. Here's a look at some of the latest gusts. Like I said, still forecasting tropical storm gusts for you this morning. 50-plus mile per hour winds for Bartow, Haines City, and Zephyr Hills. And we're near 50 miles per hour right now in Sarasota. Mid-30 showing up for St. Pete and Tampa. And we're at the 19 mile per hour mark here in Newport Richey. Good to see that. But again, as the circulation continues to pull away, the east side of the system, which is always the worst side, will start to calm down as well. So I still have those forecasts for tropical storm force winds over the next 4 to 5, maybe even 6 hour period. And then it's really this afternoon that we'll start to see that tapering off. Unfortunately, the rain chances are not going to go completely away either. We're still looking at the chances for some rain, moderate showers at times, and even this afternoon we get a little bit of sunshine mixed in with the overcast skies. Then that could give us that chance to see a couple of thunderstorms developing with the circulation moving away. We have flood warnings up for most of the area east of I-75. This is including Lakeland, down to Wauchula and Arcadia. By the way, Wauchula, we did have that tornado confirmed yesterday with some damage to some roofs there. So we're under flood warnings. There have been numerous reports of flash flooding here across these areas where the center of circulation went through with Irma, and it produced not only the damaging winds, the winds in excess of potentially 100 miles per hour, but it also produced upwards of 10 inches of rainfall out there. And that, combined with how saturated things have been for the month of August and the first week of September, that's created the flood concerns for us in these areas. So you know the drill. You're hopefully not going out and about anytime soon, but if you have to for an emergency or something like that, if you encounter a flooded roadway, turn around, don't drown. You just can't judge the depth of how deep that is. So as we look at this afternoon's forecast, we'll notice the winds still into the mid-40s through noon, but notice by 6 p.m., 20 mile per hour winds showing up, a lot less green showing up, which indicates our chance for some scattered showers and storms. And then as we look ahead through your Tuesday forecast, as things start to get back to normal here with our weather, we're going to see a little bit of a persistent onshore flow, so we'll still have slightly higher water levels out there, but notice your rain chances not too high as we go into your Tuesday forecast. So when it comes to Irma, guys, over the next few days, things are looking better after this afternoon, and then we're pretty much done with it as we go for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday through the rest of the week, and we'll get back to a much more normal Florida pattern here. So that's the latest with Irma. We'll continue to update things for you here, but first, let's get another update with traffic. Lindsay, what's the latest?
Yeah, Jason, thanks. Good morning, and good morning, everybody. I want to give you a live look right here. We've got a couple hundred traffic cameras throughout the Bay Area. We're still monitoring the bridge closures this morning. This is going to be the Courtney Campbell Causeway, the Tampa side here. The bridge here is closed closed westbound from Tampa into Clearwater. Same story goes for the Gandy Bridge. We have a live picture there as well. You can see there are police and sheriff's deputies, big dump trucks that are blocking the roadway, preventing people from crossing the bay. It is just still too dangerous because of the wet roadways and because we're still waiting for that storm surge, which, as Greg and Jason have been saying, isn't going to come until after the strongest winds. So we still possibly expect to see some water coming on up over the roadways. We're going to be keeping an eye on that for you. Also, right now, the Sunshine Skyway is still closed and will remain closed for the better part of the day today, at least until the winds start to wind down. Remember, the Skyway will shut down when the winds hit sustained, when the sustained winds are 40 miles an hour. I am literally just tweeting out right now something from Florida Highway Patrol. I was looking at their traffic maps. There is a lot going on. Remember the curfews that are in place right now. That is to allow deputies to assess the roadways without having to deal with other drivers or having anybody get in their way. And once they can assess the roadways, then they can figure out how to start the cleanup. We're talking about things like down trees and down power lines. We are seeing them all over the Bay Area, and their map is incredible right now. If you go to Tampa Bay Traffic on Twitter that I just put up, that shows what they're starting to see, and I only expect it to get even worse. So keep that in mind this morning before you walk out the door. There are several other crashes and roadblocks, nothing on the majors, but again, just remember, we are still in a curfew. Keeping my eye on things in the traffic center. Come on over on Twitter at Tampa Bay Traffic. Tweet at me. I will help you get whatever information you need this morning. Dia.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. We want to get some damage reports or tell you about some damage reports that we're hearing. The first one right now from Pinellas Park, where we're hearing that a canopy has been blown over at a Sunoco gas station.
And we have Brian Callahan with the latest from 66th Street North. Let's go right to Brian.
We have been driving all over Pinellas County, assessing the damage in our area. I gotta say, it has been pretty good news throughout a lot of the county, but we did stumble upon this tree. This tree was literally split in half, as you can see at the base, and then each part of the tree went opposite directions. This part of the tree didn't really hit much, but this other part of the tree did land on this house right here. From what I can see, obviously I'm very far away, but from what I can see, it doesn't look like it landed to the point where it caused roof damage or punctured a part of the roof, but it's obviously too soon to tell because I'm not inside that house. I can't see up close exactly what we're looking at. So this could be some extensive damage for the family that lives in this home. Again, we've been in Safety Harbor. We saw some tree limbs and branches down. We went through Oldsmar. Many parts of Oldsmar still have power, and it almost looked like Oldsmar was untouched. Now, we didn't go down a lot of the side roads, so there could be damage down some of those side roads. But all in all, Oldsmar was in pretty good shape. We're going to continue to look around here and see if we can find any more damage. And, of course, if we see anything, we will bring that to you. Heather Lee, ABC Action News.
We're in the center now.
Just some incredible video to show you right there. This is coming in from Marco Island, which is where Hurricane Irma made its second U.S. landfall late Sunday afternoon as a Category 3 storm. We expected to see incredible damage there. Now we're beginning to see it. Look at all of that. Just look at all of that. And of course, as we get closer to sunrise, we're going to see an even more revealing picture of just how bad the damage is in that area.
A tree down, some very serious structural damage there around a parking garage, look like in that particular spot. Again, those pictures are from Marco Island, and as Dia mentioned, when the sun comes up here in the Bay Area, we'll get a much clearer view, much clearer picture of the extent of the damage that we have here.
Also, we're getting some damage reports about what we're seeing in Polk County. Andrea Lyon is there, and she's got more on some of the hardest hit areas in Polk County.
Well, so far it's really hard to see the extent of the damage so far this morning, but right now, as you can tell, it is still very windy. Just take a look at the trees. That's about all we can show you right now, is that we are still getting some strong gusts of wind right now. We didn't even really want to get out on the road too much yet to check out the damage, because at one point we weren't getting a lot of wind, just a small amount of rain out here in Winter Haven. And that's why officials are telling people to not go outside yet. Don't brave the storm, because At one point it was calm. It was possibly that we were next to the eye, and now it's starting to be a little bit more gusty out here. We're getting probably 50-mile-an-hour winds, I would guess, at this point, gusting up, and we're seeing a lot of debris out here. But again, we can't show a whole lot of that to you until it starts getting lighter outside. Right now we do have some reports of an apartment in Lakeland that a tree fell on and 8 people are displaced at this time. We also are learning that there could be extensive damage to the Winter Haven Hospital, but we do have to confirm that and see exactly what is going on there. Many reports of trees down, power poles down. We heard about the officers who were stuck in their vehicle when a power pole fell on them and they were trapped for a short amount of time. They are okay. We're hearing of trees through homes, and we'll be able to continue to show you and update you what Irma's impact has been on Polk County, where it directly hit just a few hours ago. In Polk County, Andrea Lyon, ABC Action News.
You know, we've been telling you that it was going to be a long night, and it has been. And we know that so many of you are still worried right now. So we want to check in with Greg to find out where this storm is and how much longer we have to hold on, how much longer we have to hold our breaths.
And Greg, you know, I do have when you finish, I do have a couple of questions I want to ask you. Something's coming in from viewers over here, but go ahead and do your thing, and I'll ask you later.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of folks asking me about specific communities, and I got to tell you guys, I'm finding out the same way you are right now, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, because so little information is getting out. Also, it's dark. So it is, you know, you see the tree down in front of somebody's yard, but you don't really see the extent of the damage in that whole neighborhood. The one time we're waiting for, 7:13 this morning, that is sunrise in Tampa. So between 6:45 and 7, things will be lighting up very quickly out there. And after 7 o'clock, I think we're going to start to get these reports faster. That is also really going to be the first time that our crews, our first responders, are going to be able to get out there and fully assess what's going on without these little pieces. Right now, it's kind of like looking at a big jigsaw puzzle, one piece at a time. We're getting a picture of a piece here. We're getting a picture right there. It is very hard to say what the storm actually did until the sun comes out. We put all those pieces together and you see the whole image. And that's going to be what we'll be doing throughout the day today. But I do appreciate your reports on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Continue to send them in. If you can safely do that, I don't want you venturing outside. I don't need your reports that bad that you need to go outside because the storm is not over. It is a Category 1 hurricane now, about 60 miles north of Tampa. It has continued to speed up. Now, winds are down to 75 miles an hour. That's not a surprise. It is weakening. It's over land. Hurricane warnings have been pushed up. Looks like we've got tropical storm warnings along the coast from Pinellas County south. North of there, through Pasco County, it's hurricane warnings all the way up to the Florida Big Bend, Apalachicola, St. George Island under a hurricane warning right now. It is also moving north faster at 18 miles an hour. The last report had it moving north at 15. So that is good news. It's getting out of our area faster and faster. Here is that report of that damage that you heard out of Polk County. That was from Andrea. That is the picture that I've gotten off the Telemundo Orlando Facebook page. A tree sheared a part of this apartment building off. Luckily, amazingly, and thankfully, no one was injured in that. People were displaced, but they were taken to a safe place. And we got some power lines down. A tree, a power pole snapped in Pasco County from the sheriff's office. I don't have a location or road on this, unfortunately. This is where we're kind of trying to put these pieces together. But you kind of get an idea. It's anything from power disruptions to maybe some trees, and that's going to be our biggest concern, trees, large trees, falling on structures. For many of us, we may not know the full extent of that until first light, which is 7:13 today. Guys, I'm going to send it back to you. I'm going to continue to track it. It's not over yet. We still have some time to go. The back edge of the storm is moving by now. So the next 3 to 4 hours, I still need everyone to stay put.
Yeah, so just hang on. Okay, right now we've got on the phone with us Rob Shaw from Clearwater Police. We just apparently took a power hit. Do we still have Rob Shaw on?
All right, we're back. We're back.
Okay, Rob is from Clearwater Police. He's on the phone with us right now to explain what they're dealing with. Rob, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So glad that you're okay. Can you tell us what the scene is like so far in Clearwater? What are you hearing about what's going on there?
What we're hearing in the message we want to put out, and I think I just heard it from you all, is for people to stay put. That would be the greatest thing that would help us. We've got a number of reports of trees down. We have power lines down. We have a multitude of intersections that don't have traffic signals. So having people out on the roads, whether they're trying to, go from point A to point B or just sightsee, would not be a good thing. It would endanger their safety and ours as well.
Are you hearing any reports of injuries right now, Rob?
As of right now, I haven't heard of anything along those lines. It'll probably take, as we get closer to daylight, to be able to go out there. One of the first things that our fire crews will do is at daylight go out and start going into mobile home parks and going door to door and checking on people and making sure they're okay.
But again, they are not even going to go out until daylight. So that's why it's so important that you want people to stay off the roads, because you do want to keep them clear for first responders.
Correct. And in darkness hours, you could be traveling down a road and you might not see a tree that could be down in the road or part of a tree. You step out of your car, you may not see that there are power lines down, so it's just not a safe time for anybody to be out. And we're asking for the public to just be patient a little longer. We know it's been a tough and a long time, but just be patient a little while longer and let us get out there and kind of clean up the debris and the mess that we have, and then, all of our lives can get back to normal.
Rob Shaw, Clearwater Police on the phone with us right now. Rob, you know your area. We also know that it's an area that was heavily evacuated. You endured this storm like so many people did there. What's your sense? We had some reporters out there. They didn't see a lot of structural damage. Again, it's still dark. What's your sense of what you're going to find when the sun comes up here and you guys head out to assess?
My sense is that we will find a lot of damage in the streets, a lot of debris in the streets, a lot of trees down, a lot of wires down, a lot of light poles down. But I really don't get the sense that, we have a lot of widespread property damage. We may have isolated, scattered pockets of it, but I don't get the sense that it's, the kind of thing that we were all fearing as Irma, was this menacing monster down in the Caribbean with its sights set on Florida. I think that we probably come through pretty well, but again, we won't know that until we get out on the streets once daylight is here.
What about power outages? Do you still have power where you are, Rob?
We, here at the EOC at the fire station, here on Belcher Road, we're operating on a generator backup, so we have power here so we can continue the functions of the city. But I do know there are a number of power outages all throughout Clearwater, the rest of Pinellas County, and all over the state. That's one of the things that our officers are noticing, is that traffic signals are out everywhere. And I want to reiterate on that point that if somebody is driving, they come to a traffic signal that's out, it needs to be treated as a four-way stop for everybody's safety.
Yeah, and again, you're telling people just don't go out until they're given the all clear, because you're not even sending your first responders out until at least daylight. And then once they even get outside, it's going to take them a little while to assess the situation, to see what's in the road, what kind of debris they're going to find.
Correct. One of the officers have been returning to the streets, and they're being able to assess things. Fire crews will be going out as well. We have city crews on standby and ready to go out and, remove trees from roads, clean up the light poles, eliminate the debris from the road. So we're all ready to go, and we're just trying to ramp up those efforts as soon as we can this morning.
Hey, Rob, I have to ask you, it has been a long night for all of us, and it's certainly not over yet. But how are you guys holding up? I mean, I know that you're tired, you have to be exhausted, but how are you guys holding up out there?
Yeah, I think, fire crews, police crews, they're run down, they're tired. They're not sure, perhaps, what their families and what their houses have been through, but, their jobs are public safety and public service, and that's what they do for a living, and they will do whatever it takes to get the job done.
Yeah, we thank you guys so much. Thank you for all you do.
Talking to Rob Shaw, Clearwater Police.
Thanks
Rob,
for having me.
Godspeed. Go out there and do what you guys have to do.
Thank you.
Let's go a little bit further south now. We have Clifton French live for us in Fort Myers.
Yeah, Clifton, the eye passed, we just heard Rob hanging up.
Live TV.
We'll wait for that to stop. There we go. Okay. Clifton, the eye passed right through the community where you are. Can you tell us how things look? And if you can, just kind of be really descriptive. We've got people right now who are listening on our radio partners.
Yeah, so this is the neighborhood that we sat through, and right now Fort Myers is also on a mandatory curfew until 7 a.m. So this is as far away as we can get away from the house that we're in. But from the areas that we are in right now, there is down tree after down tree after down tree. Here is one. Now, if you're watching on TV, I want you to keep following me. Here's another. This entire road right here, there are just down trees on the entire left-hand side of this road. They're all uprooted. There are several palm trees, magnolia trees. There are oaks. The trees that we have here in Florida that are down. Now, we did go out further into town last night as soon as this storm passed. As soon as we were getting the left-hand side, or the south part of this storm, we were driving through town. And we did see several power lines. We saw tons of debris on the road. We saw flooded road. There's the road down here is a little bit flooded still. So and this flooding is not storm surge. This flooding is from a lot of it is just clogged storm drains from all that debris getting stuck in there, and then the rainwater not being able to to properly flow away. So there are flooded roads. There are down trees. We did not see a whole lot of structural damage while we were out, but we did see some impassable roads. There were several places with trees going across the street. It was impossible for us to pass, so we had to find a new route. That was until the police came up to us on a megahorn and said, "Hey, listen, this is a mandatory curfew. Everybody needs to be inside." We immediately got back and went back inside. So, I mean, they are out there. They are looking. We did see power crews out there working, though. But I want to tell you, the neighborhood that we're in is one of the only neighborhoods with power. All the power lines here are in the ground. The rest, almost the entire rest of this city is without power, I think, unless they have a generator. The power going through street lights without without any power, so the street lights being down, we were using flashlights essentially. My photographer was driving. He used a flashlight on either side. We would stop at every single intersection. We'd flash these lights to make sure people knew that we were there at the intersections, so we could get through. But we're not going to get outside down into town anytime until daylight, until about 7 a.m. to really assess all the damage out here. But structurally, it seems okay. The house that we were in seems okay. A couple of down trees, and there was a roof leak when the eye of the storm started to hit. But it seems like all of that seemed to be okay. So we're going to get out there once sun comes up, and we're going to give you more updates as soon as we can. I'm going to send it back to you.
Yeah, Clifton, it looks like the conditions there are starting to calm down a little bit. We can still see just a little bit of wind, but not as much rain out there, right?
Mm-hmm. No, it's come and go. A little bit of sprinkling here and there, but as soon as this eye passed us, it was night and day. There were some large gusts, but they've just been gradually going down. We felt fairly comfortable to be out in the winds after the eye passed. So the southern half of this storm really let up. It was that northern part through and pushed through. But the house that we were in was essentially the epicenter of that eye as it came through Fort Myers. And the winds got really, really rough during that time, but all of the structures that we've seen so far seem to fare pretty well.
And that's certainly good news. But, of course, people are just now waking up. They're turning on the TV if they have power. They're waiting to see what kind of damage this storm caused in the area. We're not really going to get a good sense of that until daylight, of course, and that's another hour and a half away. We do have crews all over the area. Yeah. As soon as we can, we're going to get you some damage reports. Clifton, stay safe, but as soon as we can, we're going to get you some of the damage reports. We're going to try to show you the area and show you how counties in our area fared in this storm, and we're
but you see
it's not that bad.
You see the difference now. Talking to our crews a little bit north of Fort Myers, and then talking to Clifton, obviously this goes without saying. The conditions that he faced and he was describing, stark difference.
Right.
And there was again, we need to assess things, and when the sun comes up after 7 o'clock, it's going to be a very telling time. Let's go to some video now. Flooding in Sarasota, we want to show you here. This is Highway 41 in Fruitville Road. The road flooded here on the southbound side. And Dee, as we take a look at this, I mean, that's
incredible.
Again, it's a pretty incredible shot there. I can't say that. We heard from Dennis, from Greg, areas that flood. We're going to flood. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're seeing
This
here.
was expected. But we're waiting to see how bad the other damage is from the wind damage. So we knew that this was going to happen, but we're waiting to see the wind damage and what kind of debris is left, and what kind of structural damage we're going to see in that area as well.
And you're also seeing some cars out there. That's an area that I'm sure was under an evacuation order. But again, that's Sarasota and some flooding there. A look at that. I think right now we want to get back to Polk County.
Yeah, it's been a long night for all of us, but especially for a lot of folks in Polk County. Extremely strong winds. They felt that for hours. They heard the howling sound of that wind for hours. Unfortunately, it looks like they got the worst of this storm as far as our viewing area is concerned. Reporter Andrea Lyon is there now with a look at the damage that was left behind.
Hey guys, we're out in Polk County right now. We're still seeing quite a bit of wind out here, a strong gust, but we're starting to realize the impact Irma had just outside of our hotel. We walked just a short way and we saw that our hotel sign completely bent over from Irma's winds just a few hours ago. We know that we were getting winds definitely over 70, 80 miles an hour out here. Completely bent in half at the Gill Hotel in Winter Haven. We have debris all over. I mean, look at this. Letters on the ground from the sign. I mean, that's some strong wind when you get steel bent. We'll take a walk over this way. We have some other damage. Lanai damage to I don't even know what this place is, a hotel or a cafe or something like that. Water right there. But I want you guys to take a look at the screening, excuse me, that has just been torn down from this lanai. So it probably didn't take a whole lot of wind to do that damage, and we know we saw quite a bit out here. We see that there is, excuse me, still a lot of wind coming into this area, so officials are saying, for now, stay inside. We have seen power poles and transformers blown out here, so just a note to stay inside until your officials say it's okay, you can get back outside, which could be a few hours yet. In Polk County, Andrea Lyon, ABC Action News.
Yeah, we definitely want to keep people inside for as long as possible until they get the okay from first responders and emergency operations officials that it is okay to go back outside. Meanwhile, utility workers, they are on standby in St. Pete to help assess damage that's been caused by this storm. And as soon as it's safe, they're going to go out and help people in dire need, but not until the winds drop down, to a safe level. St. Pete police are telling people to just stay inside until you hear that it's okay.
Okay, so deputies doing some damage assessment in Pasco County. A power pole here snapped in half. This is, right there on the look up at the, I would say the top right corner of the screen there. You can see the power pole snapped in half. This is near the Aaron cutoff on State Road 52 in Land O'Lakes area. You do see some wires hanging there.
I have some friends that live around that area. I just got a text from them. They have power in that area. I'll try to check in with them and find out what's going on. But yeah, this is in the Aaron's cutoff area, right off of 54.
Okay, we're waiting to go to Nick Saletti, who is with us in Hillsborough County, and he's been surveying things. And we understand right now he is near USF, where a storefront is smashed in.
Nick, are you there? Do you know if this is weather related?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Sorry, so we just arrived on scene. We were driving around this area, and we happened to see this. Check it out. So you asked if this is weather related. I have reached out to folks at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office to see what they know, and they told me they are looking into this, but I just want to describe it to you. I mean, we're looking at glass shattered on the ground, and the door frame just totally smashed in. It's on the ground right now, and you see some of the insulation there too, and looks like you see a lot of other stuff around here as well. We're going to back up a little bit because there are deputies on scene investigating. We want to make sure that they have their space to make sure that they can handle this investigation to see whatever exactly it is. But like I said, we do have a call into them to see, okay, we'll keep backing up. We want to give them their space. We'll keep backing up because we want to make sure that they have the space to do their job. But like I said, we were driving looking for storm damage, and we happened upon this, and we stopped to just try to ask some questions. And like I said, we do have a call into the sheriff's office to see what exactly happened here. As soon as we get an update, we'll let you know. But I mean, quite a bit of damage there. Again, you see that whole door frame. I mean, it's just it's totally smashed in there. The frame, it's just off the building right now. It's on the ground. All of the glass from the windows is also on the ground too. I mean, just quite impressive, that damage. But as soon as we get an update, we promise to bring that to you guys.
Nick, I'm not going to try to be an investigator here, but that would, certainly be some of the more significant damage that you found in Hillsborough County. I don't know. I mean, what's your sense out there taking a look at it?
Well, I mean, it's really hard to say, to be honest with you. I mean, depending on the winds, sure, it could have been, but we're not totally sure. You can see they're putting up some tape right now. So like I said, we just want to give them space so that way they can handle the investigation and everything. We're not sure, though. I mean, sure, I guess it could be possible that somebody might have driven into it. I'm not sure. I don't want to contemplate too much or make any assumptions here. That's why we've reached out to the sheriff's office to see what they're hearing right now. But any number of things could be possible. It is quite a bit of damage. It almost looks like something did force that door in and force the frame down. But like I said, we don't want to make any assumptions here, so that's why we've reached out to authorities to see what they've been told. But yeah, quite a bit of damage. Hopefully nobody was inside at the time or injured for that matter.
Yeah, that's for sure. Again, we don't want to speculate, but we'll try to check back in with Nick and let those investigators do their job. They're already roping off the area, so as soon as we get word on exactly what caused that, if that damage is in fact weather-related or not, we'll let you know. Meanwhile, we are checking out some damage in other areas across the Bay Area. We've seen downed trees, downed power lines, huge trees in the road, blocking the road, lots of ponding, lots of flooding on the roads as well. Those are just some of the scenes that we've seen so far.
Well, we're about to go to Sarah Hollenbeck, and the last time we checked in with her, we had her show us a tree that was uprooted. It takes a very strong force wind to do that. Now, fortunately, that tree was falling in the other direction of a home. It could have caused a lot of severe damage.
Missed a home, and the family luckily had evacuated, so Sarah was sure of that.
Again,
that area was without power. But again, those are the kind of scenes that we're seeing. We have crews in our live drive. They're kind of driving around. We showed you a little while ago, for people who are listening to us right now through our radio partners and don't have power, we showed you a crew driving through Seminole Heights, just showing some of the damage. Tree limbs down in the road, not big tree limbs, but just enough to maybe kind of cause some bumps when you're driving through. We saw fences kind of bent over in the area, but we didn't see a whole lot of structural damage. Now, keep in mind, that was very early this morning. We're still waiting for, sunrise, so things may be a completely different scene once the sun comes up, but that's what we've been seeing so far.
And our crews are all over the Bay Area and our viewing area are preparing themselves, and when we're going to be going to them throughout the next several hours, especially when the sun comes out. Greg D., I want to go over to you, buddy. We're talking about these coastal communities right now, and even though the conditions may be improving for them there, at least on the first appearance, surge is still a potential issue, or things that the governor warned us about, emergency operation officials warned us about. That's something I think that should be on a lot of people's minds this morning as you're waking up.
Yeah, we're still watching the effects of that, James, as I'm sending out some damage photos on my Twitter feed this morning. Still an onshore flow. It will be decreasing, and I haven't heard any words, seen any reports of how much surge there was. Saw some of that flooding video there in Sarasota. That's kind of a part of it. The numbers did go down with updates because of that eastward shift in the track, causing a farther southern landfall and a weakening of the storm. Those were all good things that worked in our favor. So those numbers went down as Irma went inland. But because the surge, or the highest surge, was expected really this morning, kind of around now between 3 and 6 a.m., we've yet to really see how much of that surge has actually come in. 75-mile-an-hour storm. It is a minimal hurricane, as it's more than 60 miles north of Tampa now. So this is the most significant damage photo I've seen. This is Lakeland. A big part of this apartment building sheared off by a tree that fell there in Polk County. 8 people, residents of this apartment. No one was injured. Everyone was unfortunately displaced. They were taken to a different location out of that. More pictures coming in. This is from Tiffany in Pasco County. They've got a big tree leaning on their house and also on a car. Tiffany, make sure you're inside. Backside of the storm is headed your way. So try not to get out there to get these photos this time. I can wait for them. I'll wait another 3 hours to get your photos until it's a little bit safer. This is from Pete Hunter's Green. This is New Tampa. He's got large tree branches and trees down all around his yard. And I think it seems like this that we're going to see by far the most of. But there will be some places where we do see those trees or power lines, unfortunately, on their way down, hit a car, a shed, a house, a carport. So I think more of that will be coming in. If you want to get your reports to me, they don't have to be photos. You can just send me a tweet and text or an Instagram. You can tag me in those photos, reports from your friends that you've already seen online. There are all my social media channels. You can check me out there and send me those reports. So some good news here coming in on this map. South Florida, as of the last update, has been dropped, the inland counties, from tropical storm warnings. We still have hurricane warnings from the Weather Service inland in all of our area, but our coastal communities south of Pinellas County are now under tropical storm warning. So this is kind of gets confusing. The Hurricane Center takes care of the ocean. The National Weather Service takes care of everything on land. So the Hurricane Center is saying decreasing winds over the water. The Weather Service has maintained their hurricane warnings, as we are still seeing some strong gusts. And I think that's also a precaution just to kind of keep folks from going outside and venturing into this. Now, a big drop. This is your planner for wind speed in Tampa. It's showing a wind speed at 6 a.m. of 41 miles per hour, but by 8 a.m., the winds are down to 26 miles per hour. By 10 a.m., down to 27 miles per hour. There will be rain around still. It will rain continuously throughout much of the morning, but the winds will be decreasing. Sarasota, I'm showing your planner now. If you're listening, I'm going to read it out for you. 6 a.m., the winds sustained 35. We've seen gusts over 50. By 8 a.m., down to 28 miles per hour sustained, and they basically hang around between 27 and 31 miles per hour through the afternoon. It will still be breezy and windy, and that's why I do want to caution when you do get out there and try to inspect first reports of damage, first sight of damage around your neighborhood. Be wary of things coming down from trees and even 30 and 40 mile an hour wind gusts, things that were loosened by Irma but haven't fallen yet. They could continue to fall on your house and on you as you're cleaning up. Please be very mindful of that. In Avon Park, the wind's also dying down. We've got a 33 mile an hour wind by 6 a.m., a 26 mile per hour wind by 8 a.m., and we basically stay in the 20s through the rest of the afternoon. Got some live pictures to show you right now. This is out of the Orlando area. This must be on the coast from our Orlando stations because they do cover Volusia County and the east coast down towards Titusville. So what you're seeing there is storm surge. Remember, on the east coast of Florida, they're seeing onshore flow. So this TV station out of the Orlando market is on the coast, on the east coast of Florida, and they are seeing the wind. They've seen an onshore flow push the water inland. I think the biggest surprise yesterday from this storm initially were the conditions in Miami when it was making landfall in Key West. I mean, Miami was getting hammered with hurricane force winds, surge, and flooding. They were not expecting quite that much. I think that kind of took people's breath away. And I think we're going to see reports of that all the way up the east coast of Florida. You saw earlier Dennis show you pictures of Mobile Bay in Alabama emptied by the storm. This storm is so huge. Just because the center is near Tampa doesn't mean that the east coast of Florida didn't get battered. And that's what happened. And now we're seeing some of these battering winds and surge, which looks to be more significant on the east coast from the storm than it was on the west coast. And that's because they're getting the surge with the strongest part of the storm. Our surge is coming from the backside of the storm, which is still strong, just not as intense as that leading batch. They're also dealing with tornadoes while this is happening. Tornado warnings have been issued around Jacksonville all morning long. Yeah, love this image. Here's a track. You can actually track Irma with us. Notice they don't hold a straight line. It just kind of wobbled, but it definitely went a lot more north than it did northwest. Finally, in the last 3 hours, I think it's taken that northwest turn. It was supposed to resume 12 hours ago. It's finally pulling back towards the Florida Big Bend. In the meantime, it's gone well inland into Florida. And you see the back edge of this, there are still these rain bands lashing portions of Sarasota over towards Manatee and now Hillsborough, Pinellas, and now Pasco County as well. I'll show you close-up images of all these areas here right now. So Zephyr Hills down 54 and 52 to 19. You're quiet now, but the backside is slowly moving in now into southern Pasco. Hernando County, you've got about an hour and a half of a break, and then the back edge moves in with gusty winds, but not as intense as that front side. The storm has weakened, and the backside of the storm is just weaker overall. Polk County is now getting showers returning back towards Bartow at the south side of Lakeland by the bypass there, headed over towards Winter Haven and Frostproof. Fort Meade also getting a little bit of rain right now. Heavier, more steadier showers from time to time across the Sunshine Skyway, which is still closed. Waimama down towards Apollo Beach and over towards Palmetto, still looking at the rain. And now this rain band is pointing up through West Chase all the way down to Carrollwood and over towards 275, Duluth, over towards Wesley Chapel almost, New Tampa, the Noto Sassa. You're getting some rain, and there's wind with this too. Safety Harbor back over toward Oldsmar. Palm Harbor south. It's right on the edge of East Lake. It will lift north into northern Pinellas County up towards Holiday as well. And then basically the rest of Pinellas County in some sort of rain situation now south of Clearwater. So Indian Rocks Beach, Pinellas Park, Seminole, Largo, down towards St. Pete, all getting some type of rain, and it's a wind-driven rain. That wind is pushing the Gulf into Pinellas County, so that's why we're watching for the surges this morning. It's also pushing the bay water back in. Remember yesterday we emptied out the bay with an offshore flow. Well, now the flow is onshore. So this now is when we're going to be watching for water rises around South Tampa and southern Hillsborough County, Apollo Beach, all the way down through Ruskin. So it's still important to stay where you are. If you evacuated, now is not the time to go back to where you evacuated from. We're going to have to wait until this lifts a little farther north. And that's going to be, guys, another 2 to 4 hours, I think, in the Tampa area as far as the worst part of the back edge of the storm. I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Greg. We're checking out damage that we're hearing about all across the Bay Area as, we wait for sunrise.
We have our Sarah Hollenbeck live from the Kenwood neighborhood. This is in St. Pete. Sarah, tell us what you're seeing right now.
Well, the best thing I can tell you is that the police officers are back out on the road. We've seen several of them go by us with lights and sirens, probably going out to emergency. So that's great. Over here, this is actually what used to be a sign here, and it was plastic, I believe, but now it's broken and shattered into the parking lot. So you can see pieces of that sign right here, very thick plastic that was able to be knocked over by this hurricane. Another thing that we saw over here is actually right here across the street. This is a tree that fell down into 5th Avenue North. It's the main drag through historic Kenwood in St. Pete. And you can see that this tree toppled over into the road. Now, what's funny is my photographer Jordan and I were here about an hour or so ago at a hotel that's only 2 blocks from here that had the roof collapse. And this tree was actually completely over both lanes of traffic. And it seems like a driver actually came and moved it so they could get through, because now it's only covering, as you can see, 1 lane of traffic here. But this is just one of many down trees that we've seen that are really going to impact people's commute this morning through anywhere in St. Pete. We're also hearing that they're going to do a damage assessment in about an hour from now, where St. Pete crews are going to go out and look at all the damage around town. That's when they say it will be safe to get back on the streets, and they say that they're going to issue an alert for everyone to know when it's best to come back and be able to traverse through the streets and get out of your neighborhood. Back to you guys.
Back for us in St. Pete this morning. Sarah Hollenbeck for us in St. Pete this morning. Continuing our coverage now, let's move to Bradenton.
I want to check back in with Ryan Smith, where it's beginning to rain pretty hard there. Plus, Ryan, I understand you've come across a tree that's in the road there.
Yeah, that's right, guys. I'm just talking about the conditions real quick right now. The rain coming straight down on top of it. It's pretty heavy at this moment, and the wind gusts are hit and miss, really. Right before we went live, we got a big gust that almost kind of knocked us over a little bit. But yeah, let's get to this damage. We've been surveying the damage across Manatee County over the last hour or so, giving you a first look at home. at Hurricane Irma's destruction this morning. And take a look. We had to stop right here on 43rd Street West when we came across this massive tree that came toppling down onto the road, completely blocking both lanes of traffic. Again, that's not a problem this morning because no one should be out at this hour. There is a curfew, a mandatory curfew in place until 3 o'clock later today. But as you can see, this tree came toppling down right onto the road. If you're familiar with the area, this is on 43rd Street West, just south of Cortez Road, in Bradenton. And a quick update I just learned a couple minutes ago, power outages are widespread across Manatee County. Right now, more than 1,000 customers across Manatee County without power at this moment. That's the latest live in Bradenton. Ryan Smith, ABC Action News.
Okay, no, that's okay. Ryan, let's see here. I mean, we're talking about, we've seen some downed trees. I guess my first question would be, we're talking Ryan Smith and Bradenton here. Structural damage. I know it's hard. I mean, from moving from shot to shot. Are you seeing anything that may appear to be a little more serious?
You know, James, so far we've been out and hit the road for about an hour, like I said, surveying the damage here in Bradenton. Structure damage-wise, buildings and whatnot, haven't seen any of that. The neighborhood right behind us here, man, I got to say, they did a great job. It appears most of the homes in that neighborhood are boarded up. So people, they took the advice of local authorities. They boarded up their homes and probably went to family or local shelters for a safer place. And again, about a half hour ago, we were at that Holiday Inn and Express and Suites in Bradenton, and that light pole came crashing down on top of a car. So far, though, we haven't heard of any serious building damage from Irma's winds overnight.
All right, Ryan Smith, Forrest and Bradenton. Stay safe out there, Ryan. We'll check back in with you in a few. A reminder here, don't try to drive through flooded streets. We tell you this all the time.
You never know exactly how deep that the water is that's over a road. ABC Action News reporter Wendy Lane just arrived, found a car that stalled out in floodwater in Sarasota County. Wendy, show us what's going on out there.
Yeah, Dia, James, first of all, that rain has not let up. It's still raining, sometimes harder, sometimes lighter, sometimes it hurts. And then these gusts are just still incredible. I mean, they'll just come whipping down the street and nearly knock me over. So I want to show you guys just one of the things that we've run into is a stalled car kind of in the middle of Highway 41 southbound. Obviously, this car is one of those cars that's pretty low to the ground. And it's just stalled here. And one thing that we've noticed, besides the flooding going on in this road, is the people that have been driving by this car and basically coming up on it out of nowhere. And it's kind of a danger. And that's another reason why people shouldn't be out here driving around at this hour, is because you don't know what's going to be in the road, like a car. Or you could get stalled too, because this water, it looks like it's receded a little bit since that car actually got stalled. No one's in that car, so I'm not sure when it got stalled and when the people were able to get out of it. But I don't know if you've ever got stalled in a car. I thankfully haven't, but what a scary situation. Turn around, don't drown. We've heard that hundreds and hundreds of times, but that is one of these reasons, because you never know. See some water on the road, oh, it's fine, it's fine. You never know how deep that water is. You don't know if that road dips down a little bit. Again, these gusty winds, you guys can see them now. I mean, they're just absolutely, watch out. Sorry, we're having some vehicles, big vehicles driving by us right now. So yeah, again, that's, why it's not a good idea to be out on the road, especially when you have just a little car like this trying to get around in weather that, that we've been seeing. Oh, this is past us. It's not. Obviously, even in Sarasota, it's now the rain's starting to come down really hard again. And the wind is still just incredible here. And we're going to keep showing you guys some damage there's some really heartbreaking damage that we're going to be showing you in a little bit. But yeah, there's stuff all over this place.
Yeah, that's a prime example, Wendy, of why we always say turn around, don't drown. You never know how deep that water is. Hey, Wendy, as you've been driving through, you and your crew have been driving through Sarasota County, if you could, remember we've got people who are just joining us, just now waking up, people who are also listening through our radio partners. Can you paint a scene of what you've seen, the damage that you've seen so far?
Well, first of all, I want to say that these winds are so strong that no one should be out driving around right now. I mean, we're kind of have that special exception, and law enforcement too. We've seen them out. But these winds are still very, very gusty out here. We've seen a lot of big things knocked down. And like I said, in a little bit, we're going to show you something really heartbreaking. I want to wait until we're able to show you that, but it's going to be our next shot. So there's this wind, you guys, is incredibly strong. There's a Sarasota landmark that was damaged by this storm. So this wind's so powerful. One thing that I have noticed in areas like this, like Highway 41, where we are right now, and these gusty winds are so strong, there's not a lot of like little debris around because it's just being blown away. But if you get off on some of those side streets, I mean, they're absolutely covered in it. But on roads like this, they're clear until you run into a great big tree or flood water like this that's several inches deep. And as I said, these wind gusts are still incredible out here.
Okay, Wendy, you just hang tight. We're going to come back to you. We have much more still ahead on our coverage of Hurricane Irma. And of course, we're waiting for sunrise to see just how bad the damage is.
Live from the station taking action for you, this is ABC Action News.
I've lost count, but it really doesn't matter. We're past 50 hours of continuous coverage. We are here with you throughout our coverage here of Hurricane Irma. I am James Tully.
I'm Dee O'Reilly. Thank you for waking up with us. We know that you're anxious to know exactly the kind of damage that this storm did. We are too. We're waiting for sunrise. That's when we're going to know for sure. But the good news is it's almost over. We're hoping that everybody's safe. We're going to get a check, but it's almost over. We can at least see the end of it. Is that right?
Yeah, we're probably like in the seventh inning right now is where we're at. We're kind of headed towards the end of this, but the back edge is moving through now, so it's still important to stay at home for at least several more hours. So let's get you updated on the storm itself. There it is. It's now north of Tampa. It is a Category 1 hurricane. It has weakened. Of course, it's been over land the last 12 hours now or so, just about. 75-mile-an-hour winds. It's also speeding up in its forward motion, so its exit out of Florida will be quick. Now, here's something incredible. We've been talking about the spread of this storm, right? Yesterday, we showed you pictures, Dennis. Mobile Bay was emptied by the storm with offshore winds. Miami got battered while the storm was making landfall in Key West. The storm is right here. Jason Adams just showed me a tweet from the National Weather Service in Jacksonville. They have now broken their all-time storm surge record in downtown Jacksonville. That went back to 1964 from Hurricane Dora. That now exceeds that. Irma is nowhere near Jacksonville. That just tells you that both coasts, and it may be the East Coast, that's going to take the brunt of the surge damage from this storm because of an incredibly strong onshore flow. For us, it's going to be images like this, down trees and power lines. This is the worst that I've seen from it in Lakeland, from the Telemundo Orlando. A tree fell there in an apartment. No one injured, though 8 people were displaced. In Pasco County, Tiffany showed me this photo, this tree leaning on their house and over on their car. Lost the lights out here this morning in the studio. So we may have to take that full screen. Thank you very much, guys. So there is that shot from Tiffany. We're going to be going through these little power issues probably throughout the morning. There you see this image from Pete in Hunter's Green. This is New Tampa, up towards northern Hillsborough County, just north of 75. A scene I think all of you will see somewhere in your neighborhood as you wake up and head out later this afternoon. Remember, curfew in Hillsborough County is up until 3 o'clock this afternoon. If you've got a report you want to send to Greg Weather, Twitter, Instagram, over towards Facebook, I'm also posting some of these images, wind speed planners, all throughout the morning so that if you can't get that information by listening or hearing from me, You can get it quickly on your phone by pulling up my Twitter feed. If you haven't played much with Twitter or Instagram, one of the great things is that you can set that every time I post something, you'll get a little ding on your phone. So you're not just sitting there browsing, wasting your phone's battery. If I send something out that I feel is important, your phone will ding. You can view it and then turn your phone off to save battery power. Just updated from the National Weather Service. Again, good news. You saw this change on the screen. We now have dropped hurricane warnings for Pinellas, Hillsborough, Polk, Highlands, Hardee, DeSoto, Sarasota, and Manatee counties. Jason Adams is going to tweet this information out right now. He's going to post it on all our social media channels as well. But we have now gone from hurricane warnings down one level to tropical storm warnings. Now, Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus County, you are still under hurricane warnings because you are closer to the center of Irma. Irma is now moving through Citrus County, the center of that storm as we speak. But this is headed in the right direction, and this is going to be something that we'll continue to see through the rest of the afternoon. Your wind planner for Tampa looks like this. 7 a.m., wind still maybe sustained around 39 miles per hour, tropical storm strength. But by 9 o'clock, we're down to 30 miles an hour. And after 10 o'clock, the winds will drop below 30 miles per hour in Tampa. In St. Pete, wind still gusty right now. We could see some gusts to near 55 or 60. By 9 a.m., 33 miles per hour. By 11 a.m., 30 miles per hour. And in St. Pete, afternoon, winds below 30 miles an hour. So things improving. Curfew lifted later this morning, I believe it was 8 o'clock in St. Pete later today. Sarasota still gusty now, but the winds will remain gusty through the afternoon, but they will hang around 28 to 32 miles an hour after 9 o'clock. So I think through 9 o'clock, go ahead and stay inside. After that, I think things get better. And in Highlands County, Avon Park, this will also cover Hardee, DeSoto County, and southern Polk County as well. Winds will drop below 30 miles an hour starting mid-morning, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then continue into the afternoon, eventually dropping down to 18 miles an hour tonight. Tornado watches no longer up in our area. It's the first coast of Florida, that Jacksonville down towards St. Augustine and Daytona area that is seeing the watch right now. They're still dealing with some pretty strong cells. Irma is now in northern Citrus County, and it is moving up the Florida Big Bend, may parallel the coastline here up into Taylor County towards Perry, and then make its way up towards Tallahassee, Monticello, eventually either southwest Georgia or southeast Alabama, kind of out there between Blakely, Donaldsonville, up towards the Dothan area, headed up towards Montgomery. Back edge of the storm still giving us some rain. So the back edge of the storm is now moving back up into Pasco County. It is windy and rainy across much of Pinellas and a good chunk of Hillsborough County, especially west of 75. There you see this rain band coming into South Tampa. The water is getting pushed back into the bay too, so we could still see water rises. That's why you don't want to get outside yet. And then down towards Manatee and Sarasota County, it's a persistent flow off the Gulf. These rain bands are putting in some gusty winds. I did see one report out of Sarasota in the last hour of a wind gust still to 50 miles an hour. Latest wind gust in Sarasota, 46, 33 in Tampa, 37 St. Pete, 58 in Bartow. 58-mile-an-hour wind gust still in Bartow. That could cause additional power outages and down tree limbs. So that's why we're still asking you to please stay inside at least for the next 3 to 4 hours as Irma slowly pulls away. We'll have another look at your planner, guys, for the rest of the afternoon, show you the rain chances and what they'll do coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Greg D., thank you very much. Clearwater police are about to resume police services there in Clearwater.
The department decided to pull officers off the streets about 8 hours ago because the winds were just too dangerous. They said it was no longer safe for them to put officers out. But again, they are now resuming services.
They say they're dealing with things like, well, that our reporters have showed us, like debris in the road, trees down, power lines down, and traffic signals out. Police are urging you to stay at home at this hour.
Until we tell you that it's all clear, they will let us know, and then of course we'll let you know as soon as we get the word.
The curfew's staying in place for a reason, and we'll keep you posted on those as well.
We also want to check in right now with our Kamasi Aaron.
Yeah, Kamasi, you right now we're on Bayshore Boulevard. We're very curious about conditions there right now. I know that obviously the sun hasn't come up yet, but as they take your shot here, we'll take a look. What can you describe to us, and be as descriptive as you can, because we may have a lot of people listening on our radio partners right now.
Okay, well, I'm standing here on Bayshore Boulevard. It's still pretty windy and pretty rainy out here, but the water has come back into the bay. But we're not seeing a lot of flooding here at this point. I want to show you, this is the bay, and I don't know if you remember yesterday, we were out here live, and there was no water here in the bay. I think we have some video of that because it's such a far cry from what we're seeing right now. There are people walking in this area yesterday, taking pictures, walking their dogs, riding bikes, all kinds of things. But as you can see, that water is now back into the bay. And at this point, we're not sure if it might still come up here, so we're still really being careful. But at this point, there is no flooding here on Bayshore Boulevard as we see so often. I want to show you the roadway, though. It's pretty clear. There's nobody that we've seen on this road this morning except for police officers because they've been going up and down the road, getting trees and debris and that kind of thing off the road. I don't know if you can see a little bit down here. This is one of the bigger trees that we saw that's kind of halfway in the road. So at one point there was an officer there with his lights on kind of alerting people, but I guess they realized that there are no there's no traffic out here, so that officer has gone. But we've been seeing a lot of different officers here. But I want to just remind you of what this looked like yesterday. There were people walking in the bay. There was no water here, and it's so incredible when we came out and just saw what it looked like right now to think about what we saw yesterday. People out here with their dogs, they were riding bikes. They were just so surprised to see the bay with no water. I mean, there was like traffic along this road. On the side of the road, police were asking people to leave because people just parked their cars. They got out, they grabbed their camera phones, they were taking pictures of this because it was just so incredible to see. So just to think about hours later how much this has changed, how the water is back in the bay. We have wind, we have rain here. It's just really incredible to think about just this change we've seen here on Bayshore Boulevard in just a matter of hours. And of course, the rain's still coming down. It's still pretty gusty here when it comes to the wind, so a lot of people heeding that warning and kind of waiting before they come out here and check things out because, I mean, who knows what might happen with the water. We know high tide was just about an hour or so ago, but, you know, it's still unpredictable. So a lot of people likely heeding the warning, being really careful when it comes to coming out, observing and seeing what's what. We haven't seen anybody out here yet this morning, but of course we will be out here throughout the morning observing things, letting you know if the water situation changes here at the bay. But for now, there's no flooding, thankfully, and the water is back in the bay. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Kamasi. I just asked Greg D. I said, is that a good sign? He said that does look encouraging. So if you're just waking up with us and you have power and you live in the South Tampa area, Greg says if it hasn't flooded, it's a good sign that you probably aren't going to see any flooding. So
it's good.
You know, yeah, that's a really good sign.
Greg sounded cautiously optimistic there, and that certainly is good. That strange phenomenon yesterday, which has made national headlines.
Right.
It's headlined a lot of publications. That water being pushed out like that. We can't say enough what a bad decision it was for those people who walked out to it. It's a very dangerous situation, but it's back this morning, as Kamasi just showed you, and Greg says it's optimistic.
Yeah, probably not going to flood. You know, lots of people are waking up this morning just wanting to get back home. I know that you're anxious to get back home. Reporter Matt Smith talked to one man who's thinking Apollo Beach, who was thinking Apollo Beach or bust.
Not that much damage, thank goodness. You know, it went a little more to the east of us. What I can tell, it was only 85-mile-an-hour sustained winds. So what I see on my cameras is no trees down in the yard, and so I'm going back, and I have my mother with me, and she needs air conditioning. You know how it is.
Well, I know you were concerned about looters. I heard you just talking about that. What are you hearing in your neighborhood in particular?
Well, I heard in Mirror Bay that 4 people got caught looting, and in Symphony Isles, which is in Apollo, both are in Apollo Beach. A friend of mine that's a guard there chased a truck full of people out that were trying to break into a home.
We'll probably hear more reports of looting. A lot of us are being warned, you know, just to trust our gut at this point in time, because people will try to take advantage of you. You know, if someone comes to your home and they claim that they're a contractor or they're from the power company, don't just trust them. Make sure that you check ID. You know, although we've seen kindness in people, there are also people who may try to take advantage of us.
Really good advice there. This just in, we are finding out about a downed power line in Lecanto.
That's not a good sign. Jared Holbrook joins us now live from that area. Jared, what are you seeing?
Well, good morning. We're in the middle of 491 near King B Street in Lecanto, and you can see this down pole right over here. It looks like it might have snapped in two or broken half there, but it's down on the ground. That line runs all the way down. See if I can shine my spotlight on it here. But you can see that line goes all the way down. Now, deputies have this under control. They are allowing certain people to pass through. You can see the line is right there, so they're making sure that when the cars approach that they could fit underneath. Now, some of these jacked up trucks out here actually had to get turned around and sent the other direction. The best thing you can do, folks, is kind of just stay off the road right now and allow these emergency crews to keep these roads nice and clear so they can get power back to you guys. That's kind of the message that they told me to send out to you today. Now, this down pole right here has actually caused power outage to a shelter at Central Florida College, which isn't too far from here. So right now they're without power over there. We're going to head over there right after this. But deputies definitely have this situation under control. They've been out here for a while now. We haven't seen too many down lines when we were driving around prior to this one. We've seen a down tree or two. Small trees, nothing major right now compared to, the rest of Tampa Bay. But that's what's going on out here in Citrus County right now, guys.
Hey, I need to ask you, Jared, we see the flashing lights there, but we see more cars. Are you mainly seeing first responders, or are you seeing what looks like just, people coming checking out the area?
I don't know if it's necessarily people just checking out the area. This is a major roadway. We have seen a lot of emergency vehicles. There goes another deputy car right there. There do appear to be some people that are coming through. I don't know if they're trying to get home or trying to get to a shelter at that point, but there's a lot of traffic up and down this road normally, so it is a heavily trafficked area. But the best thing that you can do is follow the deputy's advice, stay off the roadways, let them do what they need to do to get power restored back to everybody, because it's a dangerous situation. I mean, that line is not far. You see that the deputy right there in the middle that's waving people through? The line is not much higher than where he's standing right now, so cars can get through it, and they're allowing cars to go through. But, a jacked up truck is definitely not going to make it. So
absolutely.
The best thing you can do is just stay off the roadways and let them do what they need to do.
Yeah, surprisingly, there's a lot of traffic out there right now. All right, thank you, Jared. We'll let you guys continue to
and there's a curfew.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a curfew out here until 6 a.m. Now, I'm told most likely it may be lifted. Or they may expand it till 6 p.m., they said. So that's a decision that the Emergency Operations Center director is going to have to make around 6 a.m. They'll make that decision, and we'll, of course, keep you posted on that. But as of right now, there's supposed to be a curfew till 6 a.m. out here.
Yeah, okay. All right. It's a little after 6 right now. We're still waiting. At least people are slowing down. They're not speeding through that area, but you've got those deputies out there. You've got first responders out there trying to clear the scene. So we'll just have to wait. It's still a pretty dangerous situation, but of course people are anxious to get back home.
I'm sure they are. I understand that feeling quite well.
All right, let's go to Nick Saletti. He is on Fletcher Avenue near 275.
This is going to be important, Nick. You're at an apartment complex that may possibly be flooded. Tell us about it.
I'm in quite a bit of standing water right now as the rain from Irma still falls on top of us. I want to show you as I try to walk through this. I mean, in some spots it has to be about a foot or so deep. We were driving around Fletcher Avenue trying to find some storm damage, and we saw this road here and this embankment that looks pretty flooded. And right next door to it is this apartment complex here. And if we can zoom in a little bit, you can see looks like the courtyard in this apartment complex is flooded, and it also looks like there are some ground units too. So we think maybe some of them have been flooded. Haven't seen any of the tenants in yet to ask them, but we're a little bit concerned because we see this courtyard has been flooded, and it looks like the water could be at least close to approaching some of their doors here. But as I just try to walk around a little bit, yeah, I mean, in some spots this is more than a foot deep. And as we've been driving around Hillsborough County, we've seen a number of spots that do have standing water. We've seen some down power lines and also some down trees. So we want people to be aware of that. And also, deputies just started sort of canvassing the area not too long ago, maybe an hour or so ago. They were waiting, a lot of them inside the Emergency Operations Center, because they wanted to make sure that those winds had died down a little bit to make sure that it was absolutely safe for them to go ahead and respond. But like I said, I mean, a lot of places here, this is what we're seeing. And we just want people to be aware of that. Also getting some reports of power outages, too. I just got a text from someone from the sheriff's office. It looks like South Tampa right now also has some power outages. So please be aware of that. We know crews are trying to work to get power back on for everybody. We've seen a few of them working and whatnot in this area. We've been all around Hillsborough County, and this is really what we're seeing. A lot of standing water, and we want people just to be patient and know that they're going to find things like this as they wake up this morning, and especially as that sun comes up. That's going to be the real truth teller on how much damage actually we sustained here in Hillsborough County.
Absolutely. Thanks, Nick. Again, you have no idea what's in that water as well. So as people are anxious to get back home, you don't want to just go, walking in that water. You have no idea what's in there. Bacteria, debris. You could hear the frogs back there. Could be snakes. So just, make sure that you're using caution. We know you're anxious. You want to get back in. You want to check things out, but just be careful. We do want to keep checking on conditions all across the Bay Area as we get closer to sunrise, just to see, how things are looking.
And we've got Action News reporter Chris Stewart, and we understand he is in South Tampa. We're going to join him live now. Let's bring up his shot and see where Chris is. There you are, Chris. Tell us about conditions right now. Tell us about what you're seeing.
Well, I know Nick was just talking about the reports coming in that South Tampa has a lot of outages. I can tell you, as we just drove down the street here, a lot of businesses still out and a lot of power lines down, which is a good reason to stay in your home until police are done checking out the entire situation. We just came up here on San Carlos. Look at this tree. Came down right here. Looks like it came down on, we count, 2 cars right here. Pretty good damage to this one on the left. There's a Lexus over here on the right. Doesn't seem to be too bad at this point, but one of the tenants who had come out and then went back inside had told me a bit of irony for the owner of one of these vehicles. It was a woman who had actually moved her car from Bayshore, concerned about the storm surge that Irma could bring. So she moved her car to her relative's place here, and you can just see the damage that's been done. So that is going to be a tough situation for whoever owns this car this morning as they get up. But as we drove here, police are definitely out on the roads, making sure everything's okay. We've seen multiple power lines down, street crossings, they're out as well. So even though you're waking up this morning, you might think, hey, I want to go check out what this storm did. It's still a good idea to stay inside, because I can tell you, can still actually hear some trees breaking, some limbs falling off. It's just not safe at this point.
For us. Thank you so much, Chris. I'll tell you, stay safe out there. We'll check back in with him in just a little bit. There's a sign of some pretty serious wind damage. You see a tree snap right there from the middle, and then on 2 cars. It's very unfortunate. So, again, about the next 45 minutes, Dia, when the sun starts to come out, we're going to really get a look at what this storm damage could be like.
Yeah, you feel so bad for that woman. Moved her car from Bayshore, afraid of flooding, and then to have the tree fall on it. We want to check in now with Lindsay Logue. She's watching some of the Bay Area roads to keep you up to date. And Lindsay, you got some information on the Howard Franklin, right?
Breaking update right now on some of the bridges. The Howard Franklin Bridge right now is shut down southbound. That is going to be 275 south from Tampa into St. Pete. This is part of the Pinellas County curfew, and the fact that they said they weren't letting residents in until they could assess the damage and the roadways. That is why the Howard Franklin Bridge is being shut down right now southbound. Live look right here. This is going to be the Tampa side of the Gandy. The Gandy Bridge is shut down westbound from Tampa into St. Petersburg. Also right now, the Courtney Campbell shut down in both directions. The Skyway also shut down in both directions. We knew that this was going to happen. We were anticipating this. Remember, there still is a curfew in place for many counties and cities here in the Bay Area. We're keeping you posted all morning long on Twitter at Tampa Bay Traffic. Also, crashes here and there. I'll let you know about those too.
Well, scary scene there, an unexpected explosion. We continue to get in pictures and videos from our viewers on our Facebook page. This one was sent to us by Jesse Lane. The Pasco County resident says a power line caught a tree on fire and then exploded. It looked like fireworks there.
Yeah, it really is. It really is pretty staggering video, and I'm sure that happened a lot around the area. We'll update the power outage numbers in just a few seconds. Irma, they're causing a lot of trees to fall, too. I think that's the majority of what our reporters have found out around our viewing area this morning. Look at this picture sent to our Facebook page This is from Dawn Fontes, and I'm saying your last name incorrectly, but Dawn took this photo of a tree crashing right into her sister's house on Patty Drive in Oldsmar. Again, you know, situations like this, down trees all across the entire state right now, to say the least.
Yeah, that's for sure. We want to check in now with ABC Action News reporter Clifton French. He shows us the damage in a Fort Myers neighborhood east of I-75.
Fort Myers is still under curfew until 7 a.m., but we're just getting outside and seeing some of this damage. And on this street, it's just down tree after down tree after down tree. They essentially line this road in this neighborhood, which is just east of I-75 in Fort Myers. Now, we've also noticed some flooded roads and some impassable areas as well. There have been large, widespread power outages here. Police actively enforcing this curfew, though, so we're still waiting to figure out how bad this damage is, how extensive it is once the sun comes up. We'll bring you updates as soon as we get them. Back to you.
Clifton
Right,
French for us in Fort Myers. And, you know, we were just looking at a little bit south of him, Naples, some drone video. It's pretty staggering from our sister station down there.
It is amazing, all kinds of damage that we're seeing on this video. Lots of flooding. Greg, the eye of this storm came in very close to that area, Marco Island, but the video from Naples is just, it's stunning.
Oh, they got the brunt of it for sure. I mean, they literally they got the brunt of the storm there in Naples. The eye wall moved through. Yeah, I saw the same drone video. Those do not look like, they look like manufactured homes in many cases. And the winds there, unlike here, were definitely strong enough for structural damage. And that's what we see in that video. I think once we get to first light, we're really going to see that Marco Island to Naples by far took to brunt of this one. This is from Polk County. Just went to the sheriff's Facebook page. They posted this one. Their deputies impacted by a falling power pole right on the trooper's vehicle there. They're okay, but this is the kind of dangers they were dealing with as they were trying to keep us safe around Polk County. If you're wondering about reports out of Polk County, I just shared that on my Facebook page. Their list of reports so far, and this is just a little sample of it, is huge. They're basically reporting widespread power outages, widespread tree and property damage. It doesn't necessarily mean homes were damaged, but, you know, trees could fall on fences, on cars, carports, that type of deal. So they're seeing that as well. If you've got something you want to get into my hands, I do not want you to go outside and take any pictures right now. It's still too dangerous. Ag Weather, Twitter, Instagram. The report shared on that Facebook page if you're wondering about friends, family, or your home in Polk County. If you're watching or listening to me from somewhere else, Greg DWFTS there on Facebook. So we have now reduced our hurricane warnings to tropical storm warnings from Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Polk County south. The only counties left under a hurricane warning, Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus. Lakeland, your wind planner on the screen right now. It's 40-mile-an-hour winds at 7 a.m. down to 25 at 9. So you see between 7 and 9, and you're going to see this trend here around the area. That's when we'll see some of the biggest wind drops, and then just stays breezy for the rest of the afternoon, but the winds down out of tropical storm strength. Bradenton, same deal. 46-mile-an-hour winds 7 a.m. down to 28 at 9 a.m., and we stay in the 20s through the rest of the afternoon. High tide cycles, we're just past these now. That's good news. The tide is going to try to pull out right now. We haven't seen any flooding in Bayshore. That's encouraging, though there may be still some areas that see flooding. You may see flooding away from the water because of all the heavy rain that we've seen, which in some cases has been over 7 inches. Tampa's planner for today keeps us in the 70s through 9 o'clock. Rain chances 70% at 9. By 11, rain chances down to 20%. They stay 10 or 20% through the rest of the afternoon. We'll see breezy conditions, cloudy skies past 11 a.m., and any breaks of sun are going to warm us up into the low 80s. But today, in terms of comfort, for those of you who have no power, is going to be the most comfortable day. Upper 70s, low 80s, it's going to be humid. It will start to turn hotter tomorrow, and then by Wednesday and Thursday, we're really going to be talking about temperatures closer to 90 degrees. Remember, today, in terms of damage, is going to be probably the worst day because we're just assessing it. I think it's safe to say that for most of you, if you don't have power this morning, it is very likely that you still will not have it. We're really going to be talking about temperatures closer to 90 degrees. Remember, today, in terms of damage, is going to be probably the worst day because we're just assessing it. I think it's safe to say that for most of you, if you don't have power this morning, it is very likely that you still will not have power when you're going to sleep tonight. There is no way that the crews will be able to put up the majority of the lines back up today. It's probably going to be really tomorrow and Wednesday that they'll make the biggest headway. Today is just going to be cleaning up, getting the trees out of the way before they can even get the power lines up. And remember, those crews, they're not going to get up in their buckets in their cars, in their trucks, until the winds die down below a certain threshold, and that's probably tropical storm strength. So unless these tropical storm warnings are reduced, canceled, they're probably going to stay put. This is live imagery now from Daytona Beach, the east coast of Florida, where the surge has by far been the greatest. I mean, really from Miami all the way up to Jacksonville. Up the road in Jacksonville, this is more than 100 miles from the center of Irma. We're talking about record storm surge in downtown Jacksonville. More than 100 miles away from Irma, they're talking about record storm surge in downtown Jacksonville like they've never seen before. Strong onshore flow. The water levels are up. They're probably coinciding with high tides. They're also dealing with heavy rain and isolated tornadoes in that whole mess. So the East Coast by far took the brunt of the surge. It's going to be the West Coast that's going to take the brunt of the wind, and it's really going to be Polk County south, down towards Naples and over towards Marco Island, with sporadic tree and wind damage closer to the coast, much like you guys are reporting to us this morning. Now, we're not done with the storm. This is why we're still staying in. This is why we're still talking about that tropical storm warning. Look at this feeder band of rain now coming into Hillsborough and Pinellas County. This is still going to produce wind gusts 35, 45 miles an hour. Any loose tree branches still stuck up in the trees or in the power lines could still come down. You could still lose power if you've got it now. That's absolutely possible due to the wind. The rain is now really heavy. Pinellas Park south towards St. Pete, blinding horizontal rain here, and it's now pointed into South Tampa, McDill, all the way up towards the Gandy probably, and if not the Howard Franklin is some of the heaviest rain, and then the rain extends north towards the Pasco County line in Hillsborough County. South of Hillsborough County, pretty solid swath of rain and a pretty good rain band just north of Bradenton. It becomes more scattered around Sarasota, but then south of there, south of the turn on 75, south of Northport, the southern extent of Sarasota County, still getting heavy rain, and that's now going into Charlotte County. This rain band in Port Charlotte will shift north through the day, so expect that to work its way through Sarasota over towards Manatee County. The northern counties, Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus, you're closer to the center of the storm. You're in your lull right now. The back edge of the storm will move in. Last thing I want to show you is these wind gusts, and this is why we're still not going out. 58 mile an hour in Bartow, 45 Haines City, 39, that's tropical storm strength in St. Pete, and 43 in Sarasota. So there are still some isolated gusts here, well in excess of tropical storm strength. We have reduced the flash flood warnings. That's good. They're now gone. But some isolated areas of standing water is still possible. Guys, we'll be tracking the storm with you throughout the morning. Another update coming up a few minutes away. And actually, we're going to keep going. All right, we're now ready. Let's just keep going. I've got lots of graphics to show you. Let's go through the day hour by hour as we go into midday today. There's Futurecast, potential rainfall and gust. You see the gusts reducing. I'll take you through the evening, then we'll stop right there. The wind gusts lower by tonight. Still a couple showers and cloudy skies. I do expect more sunshine and warmer temperatures to return tomorrow. Guys, I think now you're ready.
I think so. Thanks, Greg.
I think we're all set. Thank you, Greg. You've been our rock here for the last 7 days, and you've covered a lot of time. Thank you. Let's go back to Sarasota County now with Wendy Lane, who's been moving around different locations and seeing some things.
Yeah, Wendy, we hear that you're near a landmark that sustained some damage. Do you know what's going on out there? What caused it? Any idea?
Well, Dia, it was definitely the wind that caused it. So take a look at this beautiful building behind me. This is a colonial-style, Georgian-style First Baptist church that was built in 1962. It's been a landmark in downtown Sarasota here on Main Street ever since. It's a beautiful building. Again, I'm going to show you, if we can just pan up to the top like you'd seen it. So all the way up there, there was a cross on top of that, guys. Now we're going to walk over. I'm going to show you where that cross is now. It's right over here, right on the sidewalk, right in front of the front doors of the church. Can you believe that? Look at that. That's the cross that was probably 100 feet up on top of this church, now crashed down in front of the entry of the church. I want to show you something. This is probably likely where that cross may have landed. You can see some white paint right here. That cross, that would have definitely killed somebody had anybody been standing down here. Now it sits right here in front of the church. It's so heartbreaking to see something like this. You can see the wire for the cross right here, just kind of shredded apart, and all because of those wind gusts. We've been telling you, we're still seeing, some of them, but nothing like what would have caused that. This is so heartbreaking. Again, this is a more than 50-year-old church that's been here on Main Street, the First Baptist Church in downtown Sarasota. We wanted to definitely show you guys that. Again, we're showing you as much as we can as the damage as we run across it here in Sarasota this morning.
Wendy, James Tully here. We're talking with Greg about some concern for the coastal communities with gusts of wind. Last time we were with you probably about 45 minutes to an hour ago, and you were talking about the gusts. Still pretty strong checking with our reporters to more to the north of us. They weren't really experiencing the same thing. Just you said that still you're getting some gusts?
We're getting incredible gusts still. And honestly, they stopped for a little bit of time. There was a little bit of let up, and I think that's when the whole storm system was kind of turning around us, and the eye had spread out a little bit. So we had a little bit of a let up of the wind and the rain, but just a little bit. And now the rain's picked back up. It's very off and on, and those gusts have never really slowed down ever since then. I mean, these gusts are incredible. That's why we're telling people, please stay off the roads. You still don't know what these gusts are capable of. We haven't seen any that would probably do damage like this. I'm not sure when this would have happened, but as you can tell, I mean, this did some pretty incredible damage to the cross itself. I don't know if this is salvageable from the broken arm right here of the cross. It's just so heartbreaking, and you can see with the kind of algae that's growing on it how long the cross had been up there, more than 60 years or 50 years, I should say, because this church was built in 1962.
Well, Wendy, we're just glad that you guys are still safe. And we'll check back in with you the closer we get to sunrise. I have a feeling that we're going to see, a lot more damage in that area. Again, if you're just waking up with us, there is not a curfew in place in Sarasota County, but first responders and emergency operations officials are asking you to please just stay off the roads. You can, of course, go out, check your property, but they're asking that you just keep the roads free right now because they want to allow first responders to get out there and assess the damage before they give you the okay to get back out. Or if you're in a shelter and you're anxious to get back home, just wait a little while longer, and then we'll give you the okay. As soon as we get word from them that it's okay to drive back home, then we'll let you know.
Yeah, the EOCs are going to be reaching out to us very, very soon with some updates.
They're already out on the roads. They're already clearing the roads, and all over the Bay Area. They're already trying to clear the roads, but as soon as we get word, we'll pass it along to you.
And you heard Wendy. She's still experiencing some pretty rough conditions out there, and they can't think of anything more heartbreaking to see than a broken cross this morning. It's really so. Again, heed the officials' warnings. Let's go to Fort Myers now, where one of our worst hit areas.
Yeah, that is for sure. We've been looking at some drone video from the Naples area. Just heartbreaking. We want to check in with Clifton French. He just arrived in that area. Clifton, tell us what you're seeing out there.
We sat through this hurricane in Fort Myers, and so we're just now getting out of the neighborhood where we were. We wanted to point something out to everybody, just with the power outages. These street lights are out. We're being told to treat every intersection as a four-way. Now people are just flying through this, but this street right now we're at Colonial and Winkler Boulevard, which is a fairly busy, heavy intersection here in Fort Myers. You wouldn't be able to tell, but this is how you can figure out where we are. You got to piece together these signs that obviously flew off and crushed. But even over here, you're seeing these smaller trees that are even uprooted in this direction. So all of this is bad. We were out yesterday, last night, right before we were told that we needed to get back inside, and we know that a little bit further from here that several roads are impassable. There's some flooding issues, lots of trees covering up the roads. We're heading that direction now, but we wanted to get with you and just tell you, see, look at these vehicles, these cars, just not stopping, and there are other vehicles that will just fly right through the other direction. So you need to be safe when you're going through here. What we've been doing is using our flashlights when we go through intersections as well, just to let people know out the side windows that we are passing through that area. But once again, almost every intersection, extreme widespread power outages here. Almost every intersection with a traffic light. The traffic light is out, so just be careful once you do get on the road, because who knows when this is gonna come back up. But these people, they stop. They're treating this as a four-way. Now they're getting back through. They're doing the right thing. Everybody needs to keep that in mind once they get back on the road.
Clifton, James Tully here. I'm sure you know this, but just about 20 miles away from you in Naples, there were gusts of wind reported in excess of 140 miles per hour. So you're not very far from that, and you can see the damage that that was suffered in that area. Pretty extreme, pretty serious.
Yeah. And right here, this exact area that we just wanted to showcase this once again to show you the right and wrong thing to do with this traffic issue. But yes, you're exactly right. Other areas around here have some pretty severe damage. We didn't any structural damage. I don't know what this convoy is of emergency personnel coming down here, but we have, you can tell, emergency crews coming out to do what they can. Let's just take a look at who these folks are. Power crews. So we have some, that was fire department. So we have the fire department coming through. I'm sure they're going down to assist with something, but the roads down there, the direction they're going, many of them, once again, unpassable, trees going across them, many of them flooded, you can't get through, and most of that from rainwater and plugged storm drains from all the debris that was getting stuck in there. So we're going to head the direction that those emergency personnel are going in, and we're going to bring you those updates as soon as we get down there.
But if nothing else, Clifton, certainly a good sign that the emergency personnel is out and about and, doing what they can.
Yeah.
Right. Clifton French for us in Fort Myers this morning. We're going to check back in with him momentarily. Clifton, great job out there. Please stay safe.
Now we want to head to Hernando County. Take a look at this picture right here. This is a picture that we just got. This is a 7-Eleven on Barclay Avenue and Spring Hill Drive. Just incredible. The awning there just looks like it's been ripped to shreds there.
Yeah, just ripped right off there.
The store itself looks like it's standing, but the awning over those gas pumps just ripped up.
And we also have this new video here of flooded train tracks. This here is on Columbus Road in Hillsborough County. Our Jared Holbrook is all over Citrus County, and we're going to go to him in just a second. But again, flooded train tracks, Hillsborough County, the picture on your screen that you're seeing. There's an area prone to flooding, Dia, something to be expected. And we're still minor concerns about storm surge right now, so we're going to obviously stay on that. Greg D used terminology I think that a lot of us understand. We're in about the 7th inning here of everything. So not out of the woods yet, but we are moving in that area.
We do want to check in with Jared Holbrook. He's in Citrus County. He just got to the College of Central Florida, the campus in Lecanto. That was a shelter, but now they're allowing people to leave. Is that right, Jared?
That's right. The curfew has been lifted now, so they are allowing people to, go on home. But, you are encouraged to stay off the road. If you saw me at that down power line on 491 just a few moments ago, this is the effect right here. This is one of the shelters at the College of Central Florida. They're without power, and so now you've got Citrus County Transit. They're actually busing people out here, taking them either to their homes or to another shelter. And you've got people that are actually leaving on their own right now. Kelly over here. Come on over here, Kelly. You've been at this shelter all night.
Yes.
Well, tell me, what was it like? When did power go out?
I don't know. I was sleeping.
You were
Actually,
sleeping.
to
So
get
you just
some
woke up
sleep.
and it was dark.
Yeah, well, kind of. We're in the dog section, so we have all the dogs with us. So.
Pet-friendly shelter here. Yep.
Yeah, part of it was pet friendly, and the other part is just people. They were able to split us up. So.
Could you kind of describe the mood in the shelter last night? I would imagine a lot of folks had a little anxiety knowing that their homes are, they're not with their homes.
No, not really.
You were all right.
Yeah, the anxiety levels were more about control of the animals, keeping quiet. And once everybody calmed down, got settled in, so did the dogs.
How did all those animals do?
Pretty good, actually.
All right.
Somebody brought a litter of puppies, so we've all been subject to baby noises in the dark.
All right. Thank you so much. Odie, come on over here for a second. This is Odie. He's with Citrus County Transit. And
no, we're with Citrus County, sir.
Excuse me.
Emergency
So
responders.
tell me what you're doing here.
Well, we opened up the shelter,
Right.
tried to get it organized.
Okay.
Fed
everybody.
We fed everybody.
Lost power about 2 a.m. this morning, and battery backup failed about an hour ago.
How did everything go overnight?
Quiet.
It was quiet.
quiet.
The animals needed to come out, so we would let everybody come and
In
let
and
them
out
out in and out during the
storm. Underneath
storm
the overpass.
under the overpass or in the back.
How would you guys describe some of the mood amongst some of the people last night?
Everybody was up. Everybody was up. I tried to keep everybody informed of what we were doing and to please be patient with us in the beginning because this was a last-minute opening. And we took all the overflow and we did not turn anybody away.
That's right. In fact, I think you got more animals than you anticipated.
We had anticipated, but everybody was orderly. They came in with their stuff, and they got to pick a spot, and that's where they stayed.
Okay, well, the EOC director here in Citrus County tells me that Citrus County Transit will be here to help some folks either get home or to another shelter. You guys were in here all night last night.
Yes.
Well, what can you tell us?
It was calm. It was good, actually. Everybody was complacent with each other, helping each other out. It was great, actually. We watched other dogs, and I actually fostered 2 other dogs for another family because they had small children, and they didn't want their children to be with the larger dogs because there's mastiffs, and they were on collars instead of cages.
I would imagine it's kind of challenging dealing with all those pets in different moods, I guess, like people, right?
Kind of fun. Yeah, it was okay, though. It was, actually, the mood was good. Everybody shared, and everybody was, got food for everybody else. And if you didn't have food or water, everybody complied with each other and just helped each other. So it brings the community together.
Yeah, I would imagine you're probably...
We just came out of Harvey, the day of Harvey, and so now we came into this. So it just kind of brings the community together.
And knowing you're in a safe spot, I'm sure helped a little bit, too.
A little bit, because we were in a hotel, because my husband's a transit worker for refineries and power plants. So it was a nice change to see everybody just come together. And we kind of made a little family. Yeah, so it was nice.
How about you, ma'am?
I was the first one of the first 3 to come from Lecanto Primary because they told me that they take dogs there. I got there and they said no. But then they said come over here and they were going to open up. So we did, and it was about a 2-hour wait. But I'll tell you what, I was more relaxed here than I would have been at my home. So.
Well, that's great. That's great. Especially, you got friends to talk to during this environment when everything's so hectic outside. You're hearing the wind blowing, and you've got someone to kind of share,
Everybody's in the same boat.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So.
And your pets are safe, which is
That's
great.
right. Yes,
so
that's
it's
right.
great that they have this. I know they took on quite a few more pets than they probably thought they were going to have originally.
Yeah, but it was a good experience.
All right. Thank
Yes.
you, guys. Stay safe
you.
out there, all right?
Thank you.
So some of these folks are actually going home. We've been seeing people, wheel away their cots that they brought here. Some of their belongings or suitcases, and they're getting in their own vehicles and just taking off. So that's what's going on out here.
Hey, Jarrett, did you get a chance to ask any of those people if they maybe called back to friends and family who stayed in their neighborhoods to find out if they still have power? I mean, I know that they're letting a lot of those people leave the shelter, but do they even know what they're going home to?
No, that's a good question. We've only been here probably about 45 seconds before we went live, so I definitely am going to ask that. But I would think that, the curfew was just lifted at 6 o'clock, so people are just starting to get out there. But as the sun comes up, that's certainly going to be the story. That's a great point that you mentioned, because people will be getting out when the sun's up and seeing and assessing the damage. And that's what EOC is doing, actually, too. I talked to the EOC director, and he said that they're going to go out, they're going to assess all the damage, and they're going to decide whether to implement another curfew or not. But as of right now, people are free to go home.
Well, that's certainly a good thing, and I know that everybody's anxious to get home, and hopefully when they get there, it won't be a whole lot of damage. Thank you, Jared.
Jared, my favorite quote there was, "I was a whole lot more relaxed here than I would have been at home."
Mm-hmm.
So even though those people may come home to homes that are just fine, they're glad they made the decision to be in a shelter. All right, lots of trees down across the area, Dia. We've been seeing a lot of this. I think it's the majority of what our crew, what our great team has been showing us throughout the morning.
And it's kind of what we expected in terms of the damage, but we're waiting for sunrise to really get a good perspective on how much damage this storm did. ABC reporter Ryan Smith shows us one tree that toppled down across a road in Bradenton.
We continue to check out damage across Manatee County, and so far we've seen a lot of roadways littered with limbs, but nothing quite like this. Check this out. This massive tree toppled down over this road. The tree itself really blankets both lanes on this roadway. This is 43rd Street West, just south of Cortez in Bradenton, if you're familiar with the area. Now, so far in the past hour or so, we haven't seen a lot of structural damage. I was just in a neighborhood nearby here, and I got to say, a lot of homes there, they were all boarded up. I didn't see any damage. There is an occasional tree down or tree limb down, but so far in that neighborhood, it didn't look too bad. Nothing quite like this, but this is just one of the first examples we're seeing of the damage and destruction that Irma has brought to this area overnight. I do want to mention that there are more than 100,000 customers reportedly without power this morning. Also, curfew remains in effect in Manatee County until 3 o'clock later today. That's the latest in Bradenton. Ryan Smith, ABC Action News.
All right, thank you, Ryan. We want to go back to Nick Saletti on Fletcher Avenue, not far from I-75.
And Nick, you found something really interesting floating in the street here.
Yeah, guys, I did. So this is where I was standing earlier. I had protective boots on, but look at what we're zooming in on right now. That is a floating colony of fire ants. It has to be thousands of them, just a cluster of them floating around here. I didn't see it the first time. Again, I have protective boots on, but I'm going to stay out of the water here because this is not something I want any parts of. I don't think anybody who's watching us at home or on Facebook wants any parts of this either. And I think this just underscores the message of you never know what is in the water. I know sometimes it's tempting to get in the water for folks who have to do some cleanup, even sometimes for kids who want to play in it. Sometimes you're barefoot. That is never a good idea because of what we're looking at right now. That colony of fire ants, again, it has to be thousands of them, and you can see them moving around too, which I think is pretty scary. But in addition to this, I mean, you never know. There could be sewage in the water. There could be some kind of electrical current. There could be chemicals, other animals or insects that could harm you, all sorts of things. So I think this is just a very stark and visual reminder that you just want no parts of this water because you just don't know what's inside of it. I mean, that colony there, it looks pretty ferocious. Again, I don't want any parts of that, and I certainly don't want anyone else to stumble upon that either.
Waiting for the mics to come.
That actually is a totally normal behavior. That happens a lot
is.
of times in floodwater. They're seeing the same thing in Texas. When Hurricane Harvey came through, those ants normally kind of form a mass around the queen to protect the queen. And if you step in it, they're coming after you. so yeah, Nick is very smart to stay away from that. But that's another reason why you just have to be so careful when you're going back home. You never know what's in those floodwaters.
That's right. It's right. Dia mentioned a lot of bacteria in there. Things we saw from after the effects of Hurricane Harvey. People dealing with very, very unsafe conditions with the water that's just standing there. I think. Are we going to go over to Greg, guys? I think so.
I'm ready.
Yep, he's all set. Hey, it's funny, Greg, you and I both shot each other a look there with the ants because This is something we had talked about a couple of times. I think there's some video clip that we came across, and we knew that that's right. It's what they do to stay alive.
I've seen that before. It's a defense mechanism for them. You just want to stay out of their way because they will protect themselves from anything that interrupts with their survival. So just another reason, folks, to just kind of stay inside until curfews are lifted, the sun's out. Lake Magdalene, this is from Ann on Twitter. This is going to be the north side of Tampa, just to the west of 275. Tree down by her house. She said it looks like a big head of broccoli. And that's what you're going to see out there today. Lots of downed trees, large tree limbs. Some of those may be falling on things that you own, your home, your carport, your car. Others will just fall on the driveway and get in your way. At Greg D. Weather, if you want to send those images to me, I'm also continuously sending out weather information. If you're just listening to my voice, you can get that information on my Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram feeds if you're curious about winds and temperatures. So every county from Pinellas, Hillsborough, Polk, south, all the way down towards, looks like Lee County along the west coast, we're under tropical storm warnings. That's a big change in the last hour and a half as they've dropped the hurricane warnings. Hernando, Pasco, and Citrus County still looking at an inland hurricane warning. Going to get out of the way so you can see the wind speed forecast for Tampa. It's looking better. By 7 a.m., winds around 30 miles an hour, and then dropping below that as we head into 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Winds below 30 miles an hour the whole time.
That is not
winds around 40 miles an hour at 7 o'clock in Lakeland, then falling below 30 miles per hour by 9, 11, and 1. So Polk County, lighter winds through the afternoon. Here's your planner ahead as far as the rain. Now, the rain's going to stick around a little bit longer than the wind, but as soon as the rain bands move out, I think the winds will start to improve quickly. So after 9 o'clock also, just some scattered showers, cloudy skies, temperatures upper 70s and low 80s. By far the most comfortable day of the week if you're dealing without power in terms of temperature. 75 mile an hour Category 1 storm. It was in Citrus County at 6 o'clock. I think it's going to be north of you in the next update, which comes in at 7 o'clock. And that's where the heaviest wind and rain is. Remember, Jacksonville right now just getting pummeled by heavy rain. They just broke their all-time storm surge record in Jacksonville. The storms in Citrus County, it's causing record storm surge in Jacksonville. That's how powerful and wide-reaching Irma has been. It's really pummeled both sides of the state with surges, wind, tornadoes, and very heavy rain. Now tracking out of our area and accelerating, so its exit will be super fast. It tracked as a Category 2 in the southern parts of our area and didn't get to Category 1 status until it moved just past Hillsborough County this morning, tracking out of Hardy across southwestern Polk and into Hillsborough, right over Plant City, up towards Zephyr Hills. Still looking at these rain bands. It's in the rain that we're going to see the strongest wind gusts. This one is working its way right up towards Clearwater, Safety Harbor, eventually East Lake, Holiday. Looks like out there toward Oldsmar, Lutz, West Chase, Carrollwood, down towards Tampa, Seminole Heights, all the way down into South Tampa, still getting the rain. Breaks up a little bit in Manatee County now at the coast, scattered showers. But there's another southern band, a little more intense with some more yellows instead of just dark greens. It's swinging into Venice now. So this is southern Sarasota County. It's going to work its way up the coast along 75. So Sarasota, Bradenton, you're not completely done with the rain yet. North of all of this, Pasco, Hernando, Citrus County, you're kind of towards the center of the storm, so you're in your lull right now. Gusting to 40 miles an hour right now in St. Pete, 44 in Sarasota, 32 in Tampa, 39 Zephyr Hills, 58 in Bartow, and 41 in Avon Park. Wind still too strong to get out there, I think. I think these gusts are still a little bit too unpredictable. We may be in the 8th inning now when using that analogy throughout the show, but almost there. But I think a couple more hours here are really going to cause some big changes and some reduction in those winds. No more flood watches or warnings. There you see Irma on our Futurecast spinning away so that by 12 o'clock, most places gusting to 30 and 35 miles an hour. The rain showers mainly north of the bay. Through the afternoon, some hit and miss showers still possible. Cloudy skies by the evening. Winds reduced even more down below 20 miles an hour. And then those gusts really down overnight. Tuesday, we'll still see a couple showers feeding in off the Gulf. Temperatures will be well up into the 80s with a mix of clouds and sun. It does look better as far as Tuesday is concerned. And then the winds really die down Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday night. Below 10 miles an hour, skies will begin to clear Tuesday night. That also means that sunshine will return out Wednesday, and that's going to mean likely we're going to see our temperatures shoot up to the upper 80s to around 90. So that's the latest here from the Weather Center. We've got about an hour or two for most of you in terms of the stronger gusts. Then they start moving away south to north throughout the afternoon. So we'll continue to track it here in the Weather Center. I'm looking for your reports on social media. Any of your reports that I get, we're going to send it right over to you guys and show them here right on the air. Guys?
All right, Greg, thanks so much. Let's head over to Lindsay Logue. She's got an update for us, watching all of the bridges, all the roads right now.
Yeah, and we anticipated this. So if you're just waking up with us this morning, just joining us here on ABC Action News, I do want to let you know right now, a live look at the Tampa side here of the Gandy, where you can see that deputies there and big dump trucks are blocking the roadway. The Gandy Bridge right now is blocked westbound from Tampa into St. Pete. Howard Franklin Bridge is shut down southbound from Tampa into St. Pete, and the Courtney Campbell Causeway, the Sunshine Skyway, both of those bridges are closed completely in both directions. The Skyway is shut down because of the high wind advisory, but the other three bridges over Old Tampa Bay are shut down because of the Pinellas County curfew, and that is in effect so that crews, and it's in effect in many of the other counties and cities in the Bay Area, but it's so crews can get out there on the road, assess the damage, clean up faster. That means you can get back to your home faster. I want to show you right now what it looks like just outside of our station. This is going to be in Tampa on Himes Avenue, our live drive here, where police they're blocking a small part of the road. We did just find out from our photographer there it's because of a downed power line. And this is a common sight here. And one of the other reasons I need to tell you why it's so important that you stay inside and not try to drive is because many trees are down. And what we're hearing is that power lines are wrapped around or wrapped in those trees. You can't see those. And many of those down lines are live. Incredibly dangerous situation out there. Of course, we'll keep you posted right here on the air. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at Tampa Bay Traffic. James?
All right, Lindsay Logue, thank you so much. Hurricane Irma has lost some strength this morning as it moves up Florida's west coast.
Further south, though, in Naples, closer to where the eye of the storm came in on Marco Island, things are calm, but as we've seen in drone video, there is so much damage. Reporter Hillary Lake shows us the latest on the damage.
We've had a chance to drive on some of the main roads in Naples, and I can tell you that they are covered with debris and trees, making the conditions very unsafe for drivers. But we're also seeing trees down just about everywhere, just pushed right over, branches snapped off, and it's just tree after tree after tree. This one looks like it's just bent right over. But check this out. This is a 53-foot semi-truck trailer, weighs between 30 and 35,000 pounds. Pushed over by that Category 3 storm, those wind speeds topped off at about 129 miles per hour. So this just gives you an idea. I mean, look at that. This just gives you an idea of how strong these wind speeds were. Now, once the sun comes up, we will be able to give you a better idea of the true extent of this damage, and we will be bringing that to you throughout the day. In Naples, Hillary Lake, back to you.
All right, thank you, Hillary. And this just in, the Highlands County Sheriff's Office is just posting this on its Facebook page. There is now a precautionary boil water notice for all residents in Sebring. That, of course, that area hit hard by Irma as the eye passed just to the west. There's no word yet why the boil water notice was issued or when in. But again, this is for Sebring. You may see this in other areas. We'll keep an eye on this for you. But again, this one right now for Sebring, precautionary boil water. We'll let you know, City of Sebring water customers. Okay, we want to check in now with our Kamasi Aaron.
Kamasi, you're on Bayshore Boulevard. How are conditions there right now?
Well, the wind is definitely still gusting here and the rain as well, but there is no flooding as so often we see here on Bayshore Boulevard. So that is one thing that I'm happy to report. I just want to pan over here and show you what the roadway looks like. There's not a lot of people out here. In fact, we maybe only have seen one or two cars outside of law enforcement out here, but there are some trees down. I don't know if you can see down there, they've put some cones up down just in case now that it's getting lighter out, people might get on the roadways. They see that there is this tree down. This isn't the only one. We've driven up and down Bayshore, and there are several trees that are down in the road along with just branches and limbs and that kind of thing, but luckily no flooding. One thing I do want to show you this morning as well, check out the bay. it looks how it normally looks instead of yesterday. I don't know if you remember, we were out here. We want to show you this video of what the bay looked like yesterday, a far cry from what it looks like right now. There was no water here because Irma had sucked all this water out, so you had instead people in the bay walking around, walking their dogs, taking pictures, really just shocked to see such an incredible sight, the water gone from the bay. So the water is definitely back, but luckily there is no flooding here on Bayshore Boulevard. We expect to still have some rather kind of uneasy water here, so we're not getting too close, and we don't want people to come out and just think that everything is back to normal. We don't know what might happen. This water might come back up, but we're going to stay here for the morning and let you know what we see. But for right now, just some windy conditions out here, rain coming down, but luckily no flooding here on Bayshore Boulevard. Back to you guys.
Hey, Kamasi, we all know that area sometimes floods just in our normal spring thunderstorms. We were talking to Greg earlier. He says it's a really good sign if there is no floodwater out there right now, then that's a really good sign. Can you do me a favor? Can you have your photographer maybe pan up and down Bayshore Boulevard so that we can get a good shot of it, and then it just kind of narrate. Tell us what we're seeing.
Yeah, let's walk over here. Josh, do you want to see what Bayshore looks like right now? Not as much light, but we're getting a little bit more. And I'm just really happy that we've been able to drive. There haven't been any spots where we're like, okay, can we cross here? It's been totally fine. And I think that's the case for most people who have decided to venture out here on Bayshore Boulevard. Okay, so we have very little water here in the roadway here on Bayshore. This is probably the extent of it. So the roads are totally clear, but if we can pan down here, you can see that one cone is up. There's a tree that's in the median that has been blown over into the roadway, and so it's blocking that left lane. So people are able to still get by once they start getting out here on Bayshore Boulevard because that tree's only blocking one lane. And then the other side, we saw a police officer. She'd parked her vehicle and she'd gotten out, and she was trying to remove some of the branches and limbs that had fallen on that other side of Bayshore Boulevard, but it looks like cars are still able to come by, so that debris is no longer there. But it's actually very clear right here on Bayshore Boulevard. There's no flooding. Right here on Bayshore Boulevard, there's no flooding. People have been able to turn around and go back and forth like normal, but luckily not too many people are out here on the street. I'm glad that it's getting a little bit lighter, because sometimes if you're driving and that cone wasn't there or that officer hadn't been there with lights on, it's hard to see that the trees are down. So now that it's getting a little bit lighter, they're putting up more signs for people once they start to get out on the roadway. But for right now, it's pretty clear driving, no flooding here on Bayshore.
That's an encouraging sign. Thank you so much, Kamasi. You guys stay put. We'll check back in with you, but stay safe. We'll be back with you in just a little while.
Yeah, I have to say that is a pretty encouraging sign. We'll get back out to her in a few minutes. Let's check out this video right now from ABC, and let's see if we can roll this. Yep, what you're looking at here, okay, and I know that happened really fast. From ABC News, that's an entire roof getting ripped off of a building in Miami.
It was peeled back like
there
a can
right
opener.
There.
Just incredible.
Okay, now there was.
I've never seen anything like that.
No, I've never seen anything quite like that either. And you know, they were dealing with obviously hurricane strength winds in Miami. They were also dealing with it in Fort Myers, and especially south of Fort Myers, about 20 miles away. We had a wind gust clocked at over 140 miles per hour. That's where we have our own Clifton French with us this morning. It's really one of the worst of our areas to get hit. Let's see if we can go to Clifton and see if he's moving around a little bit. Last time we checked in with Clifton, there was a lot of power outages.
I think they're still getting. There he is. Okay.
Yeah, there's Clifton.
Clifton, how's it looking there?
Hi. You know, the sun is just now coming up, and we're just starting to see the extent of all this damage. You know, we've been driving around in the dark. Now, obviously, you can see more. Many business signs just ripped down. You know, we're going to see a lot more damage here. This is just the beginning of us going around and seeing. But this is at a storage facility. I'm near US 41, which you know goes through Tampa, through our area. This is Colonial Boulevard and US 41. This sign, and then just trees uprooted everywhere. They're all along this median. But I want to tell you the curfew just lifted at 7 a.m. here, so people are getting out and seeing what we're seeing as well. So cars are getting out on the street. But there are trees uprooted over there. There are trees uprooted over here. There's debris pretty much everywhere. If you had a business sign, you are lucky if it survived. Now, we haven't seen a whole lot of damage to any buildings, any businesses, any homes. I'm sure that there have been trees that fell on homes. I'm sure there are going to be broken windows. I'm sure there's probably some decent damage other places. But we're just getting to this. I don't know what it would take to do this to this sign, but when we were sitting through this through this storm, when the eye was coming our way right before we got into the center of the eye of the storm, the winds were pretty bad, and I believe, Greg, you're over there. Do you know exactly, I guess, how high the winds were in this area? They felt intense. But
yeah,
honestly, I'm just not sure how fast they were going.
Yeah, they were likely in that 100-mile-an-hour range, if not more. I haven't checked the exact reports out of Fort Myers, but kind of talk me through it as you guys were writing it out, because Fort Myers did get a stronger part of the storm than Tampa. What did it sound like? What did it feel like to be going through that strong part of Irma?
Well, you could hear the larger gusts. You could actually hear them start to build up before they hit. But when you looked outside, really it was pretty much just white. The rain and the mist and everything. You couldn't see too far. The trees that were close up, you could obviously see those blowing pretty hard. Everything in the house, was making quite a bit of noise. It was loud and it was it was pretty windy. It was a decent ride, but the structure we were in was solid. We had a couple of roof leaks. I think that was to be expected with something like this, but nothing major. There was a tree that we were concerned that was going to fall on the house, but it maintained. It was actually when the eye came through and then the winds turned around, this tree was leaning this way, then the winds came in from the other direction and it kind of put it back upright, but that thing is going to need to be cut down. So I think that's something else for people to be concerned about is, a lot of these trees could look like that, they're standing, but they could eventually fall just because of the winds that they went through.
Yeah, there could be additional wind gusts, too, that could cause that. Now, driving down there, did you notice, were people prepared for this? Just like here in Tampa, it seems like a lot of folks did heed warnings. They did board up. Did you see a lot of that down there, too?
Yeah, I feel like people here took it a little more serious than what I noticed, the preparations up in Tampa. That's just from what I was gathering and from what I was noticing. Most houses here were boarded up, and I do know that there were quite a few people who were in mandatory evacuation zones who decided to stay in their homes and sit it out. I used to live in this area, and I had some friends who have a baby, and they were in a mandatory evacuation zone. And they ended up coming to the house where we were staying to take shelter. They were initially thinking that they were going to try to ride it out. Then they called me and said, "Hey, listen, we need a place to go." So they went there, and they came and they sat that storm out with us as well. But they were in a storm surge, potential storm surge area. The storm surge did not come to their house, according to their neighbors, who did sit it out. So the damage at their house is minimal. I think he lost some fencing and stuff there, but everybody's really just waking up and trying to see exactly what all happened.
All right, Clifton French, thank you very much. Stay safe down there in Fort Myers. He is covering the storm down for us south of Tampa. And, the one thing that I think, a couple of positives here. So the inland track kind of weakened Irma as it headed up. We're still going to see, folks, some wind damage here. And this is going to be serious. Polk County down towards maybe Hardy, Highlands, DeSoto counties, especially along into the right of the track. But it was weaker because it did make contact with land earlier. That was a positive. And the second positive, you saw there from Kamasi and over from Clifton here, not as much surge into the area as they're getting on the East Coast. There is now a flood emergency in downtown from Kamasi and over from Clifton here. Not as much surge into the area as they're getting on the East Coast. There is now a flood emergency in downtown Jacksonville. They are inundated with water from a storm that's over 100 miles away and weakening on the East Coast. It's the East Coast that got the surge, it seems like. It's the West Coast and the inland areas of Florida that got the wind. And we will continue to see the wind. And I don't think power crews are going to get out there to actually start to restore your power until these tropical storm warnings are dropped. And they're still there from Hillsborough, Pinellas over towards Polk County south. North, it's still hurricane warnings. They're definitely not going to get up there to those power lines to try to put anything up with winds gusting 40 to 50 miles an hour. Good news here, the wind forecast for Tampa as we move along in time, and this updates to the next hour. Everything below 30. That's good news. Now, the rainfall will continue through about 9 or 10, and then we're going to see partly cloudy skies. The most comfortable day of the week today. Temperatures upper 70s, low 80s. The clouds will keep it cooler. Guys, the temperatures will go up. So I think our discomfort level, once we get cleaned up and we still don't have power, is going to go up as we head into tomorrow and then Wednesday and Thursday as well, depending on how long folks are without power. I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Greg. We're going to check back in with Nick Saletti. He has been on Fletcher Avenue, kind of camped out on Fletcher Avenue, not far from I-275, showing us just some flooding at an apartment complex. We just saw a little while ago a floating, I guess the whole floating fire ant compound,
floating
basically.
Fire ant colony, which is what they do in situations like this. But it really, Nick, if we send it out to you here, it kind of goes to that point where you don't know what's in that water. It is not a safe situation.
Oh, absolutely. This is just another shining example of why you never want to get in this water, especially barefoot. I'm wearing protective boots and I'm kind of staying towards the edge because this is what we found just a short time ago. Look, we found that floating colony of fire ants that you mentioned. And you also mentioned this, that sometimes this happens during flooding, that they kind of cluster together and they float together. We saw this happen during Harvey in Houston in Texas a few weeks ago, and we're seeing it happen right now. So I was just walking in this water because an apartment complex is right adjacent to this embankment where we're at right now, and it looked like they had some flooding in their courtyard, and I was walking to demonstrate how deep the water was, and in some places it's probably more than a foot deep, and then all of a sudden we saw this cluster of fire ants, probably thousands of them. You could see them moving, and it just obviously it grosses you out, but it's dangerous too. I mean, nobody wants to come face to face with that. And it just proves our point more that you have to be very, very careful with this standing water. Sometimes it can be very tempting for kids and sometimes even adults to get in the water, whether even if it's just to clean up or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be for something fun. It could be just to clean up your house. And I get that. That's understandable. But you just have to be careful because you could come face to face with those fire ants, but in addition to that, there's other insects and bugs, snakes, what have you, that could harm you. There's also the possibility there could be some chemical runoff in this water, bacteria, sewage. There could be an electrical current in there from a down wire. You name it, the risks go on and on and on with this standing water. There's diseases, all sorts of things. So please just be careful. And also about those down power lines, we've seen quite a few here in Hillsborough County, and we know deputies, other authorities are now just starting to respond to them. The rain is still coming down here. The winds, fortunately, have calmed down a little bit, which allows those deputies to go out and respond to these scenes. But you never want to touch them. You want to just leave them alone and call authorities as soon as you see them. But let's talk about the weather a little bit because the rain has started to pick up a little bit. Kind of going through some periods where it dries off and then the rain comes again, and we are in one of those periods. So I feel bad for these folks because, as I mentioned, looks like the courtyard at this apartment complex has flooded, and I would imagine that some of these ground units probably have some flood damage too, and the rain just keeps coming. But if you see here, and I'm keeping a watchful eye on those fire ants, but if you see here, I mean, this water gets pretty deep, and then it goes all the way back into that courtyard. Like I said, I can't imagine that those ground units wouldn't have some kind of water damage, guys.
Yeah, that is pretty incredible. That scene there, lots of flooding out there. And as Nick said, you don't venture out there because you don't know what's in that water. So many times, you know, we tell you if you do have to go out, make sure that you wear protective shoes, boots, things like that, because even a small cut that could pose some serious danger if there's bacteria in that water or any kind of chemical runoff in that water. So just be careful as you walk out and you try to assess the damage to your property.
I want to put this out there right now for our viewers from Pasco County. We've just gotten this in. Your curfew has been lifted as of 7 a.m. this morning. Again, Pasco County, your curfew has been lifted as of 7 a.m. Now to Polk County, hit hard by Hurricane Irma overnight. No doubt about that. We have a crew there right now. Andrea Lyon, I believe, is there for us.
Yeah, she says they're still seeing some heavy wind in that area. Is that right, Andrea?
Hey guys, we're out in Polk County right now. We're still seeing quite a bit of wind out here, a strong gust, but we're starting to realize the impact Irma had just outside of our hotel. We walked just a short way and we saw that our hotel sign completely bent over from Irma's winds just a few hours ago. We know that we were getting winds definitely over 70, 80 miles an hour out here. Completely bent in half at the Sure Gale Hotel in Winter Haven. We have debris all over. I mean, look at this. Letters on the ground from the sign. I mean, that's some strong wind when you get steel bent. We'll take a walk over this way. We have some other damage. Lanai damage to I don't even know what this place is, a hotel or a cafe or something like that. Water right there. But I want you guys to take a look at the screening, excuse me, that has just been torn down from this lanai. So it probably didn't take a whole lot of wind to do that damage, and we know we saw quite a bit out here. We see that there is, excuse me, still a lot of wind coming into this area, so officials are saying, for now, stay inside. We have seen power poles and transformers blown out here, so just a note to stay inside until your officials say it's okay, you can get back outside, which could be a few hours yet. In Polk County, Andrea Lyon, ABC Action News.
All right, thank you, Andrea. We've gotten so many Facebook messages and emails from people saying, I've got power, I've got power. You know, people expected to lose power. If they did lose it and it came right back on, you know, that's great news. But then some people say they never even lost power. But then there are plenty of you who still don't have power right now.
Yeah, and I've been getting a lot of those messages, unfortunately. And we wanted to do this for a couple of minutes now. Serena Fazan, ABC Action News anchor Serena Fazan, monitoring the progress of getting that power back on. Serena, what's the latest over there?
Well, let me tell you guys are right. There are a lot of people still without power. And as Greg mentioned just a few minutes ago, crews can't even go out right now to get the power back on. But I want to show you this interactive map. Now, this is just TECO customers alone. And right now, more than 300,000 people without power. And I just checked, that's about 58% of their customers without power. They actually color-coded the map. So here, the red means larger pockets of the population. So we can see here, for instance, near Clearwater, Dunedin, those kind of areas. It bleeds into Lakeland. The blue means small pockets, and the orange, yellow are medium, and then very small is the green. Now, if we go to this interactive map, this is Duke Energy. And let me show you this. This is, gosh, okay. This is Pinellas County, and right now they're saying 300,000 people nearly do not have power. Their total customer base, 541,000. So there's going to be a lot of work to do once the crews can get back out. In Polk County right now, 43,000 people affected, 100,000 customers in that population. I want to go to, let's go to, let me see if I can get this up. Lake County, there was one that I wanted to show you. Well, here's Marion County, which is 38,000. If I can try to get it back up to our area. Let's see here. Well, in Polk County. Yeah, I told you guys about Polk County. Well, the bottom line is basically that crews have a lot of work to do, a lot of people without power. You have to pack your patience. And Dia, we talked about this earlier. I mean, it's such a, you know, it's so hard not to have power, but thankfully it could have been so much worse. And we have all the information listed on our website if, you know, there's trees down or if there's a power outage. And you guys said that you can text too.
Yeah, that's right. We've got numbers that you can text. just to let the power crews know
Right.
if you need, if you need some service in your area and you don't have powers. All of that is listed on our website. Hopefully you're able to access it. If not, we'll get it back to you in just a little while. But I do want to show you some video right now from Martin County, from a Martin County neighborhood. We're seeing, we don't have it? Okay, well, okay, we will get to it in a second, but I can describe it for you. We're hearing that there is a large depression in the road. Huge depression in the road. It's basically been washed out. So as soon as we can re-rack that video, we'll bring it to you. Just an incredible scene there.
I've got something too that's just coming in. There's a precautionary boil water advisory for the entire city of Sebring right now. City of Sebring water customers. There's a boil water notice in place right now. Again, these are all getting pushed out in the ABC Action News app. If you have power and you can charge your phone, that's a good thing. These are coming out just as we say them.
Another piece of information that we want to pass along as well. Pasco County lifted its curfew at 7 o'clock this morning. So that means that you're okay to go out on the roads if you need to get back on the roads. But again, just be careful as you're driving out there. Crews are still trying to assess the damage, if there are any trees down or power lines down. So as you're driving in Pasco County, just be aware of that. We did tell you about a tree that was down. Actually, it was a power pole, wasn't it, that was down off of Aaron Cutoff. So just know that there are some problems out there. So be careful on the roads.
Yeah, the majority of things we've seen, down power lines, down trees, and in many places we've seen what the strength of that wind has done, really proving that has some pretty serious wind damage. Okay, let's go to Hernando County now. We have Matt Smith in Spring Hill for us.
Matt, you're at a 7-Eleven that suffered some significant damage. Is that the one that we were trying to decide if it, yeah, there it is right there. The awning just looks like it was ripped apart.
Yeah, follow me back here. We'll show you what it looks like here on the scene. If you don't know this area, this is Spring Hill. It's Spring Hill Drive near Barclay, right at a corner. And the amazing thing is the lights are still on, but you can see the significant wind damage was here. And this isn't light stuff. I mean, there's a lot of heavy metal in here. You can see actually that when the wind came down or this cracked open, the clips literally ripped off the ends, and a portion of that awning actually just came right down. We're going to be careful kind of coming around the middle here because the sides are still held down and we don't want to watch those come down on us here on television. But you can see that actually pieces of the awning are sitting on the ground, and this is where you're actually a little bit thankful because you see something this size, and I'll tell you, it's got some weight to it. When you see something this size, you worry about it picking up and becoming that projectile and really hurting somebody. Danny, walk on through here with me because this is the amazing thing. I'm still just I'm literally flabbergasted, don't know other word to use for you here. When you take a look on the back side of this, you're inside the area right now where the gas pumps are, and you take a look up here, we've still got the power lights on. It's just a handful that are down. So we know that these wires above us off to the side where we kind of walked out and around so we didn't go directly underneath of them, those are live wires right now. I actually was just talking to a state trooper moments ago that they came on by here. They were just checking out. They're doing their own surveillance and stuff out here in this area, making sure everybody's safe. Walk over here with me to you as well. Just you get a look at this awning and how it actually looks, just crumpled, mangled. You can see this is probably, I would say, the actual section from this side to this side. You've got to have at least probably a good 30, 40 yards worth of awning that's torn up. When you walk up to the building itself, the 7-Eleven, you kind of get that pit in your stomach because you realize nobody expected it to be like this out here. I noted earlier when we first arrived, they didn't actually have those gas pumps wrapped like we saw down in Tampa where we were earlier this morning. But note right here, they're closed and they were hoping to reopen on Tuesday. It does not look like that's going to be at all possible. But it is so interesting when you're actually out here because we take a look at this damage and you see it, and you've got a great vantage point here now that we're a little bit closer to the store looking back on it. You can actually see right through here across the street. There's another gas station. You're not seeing any of this damage. In fact, we've only seen one power light down the entire drive up here off the interstate. So it gives you an idea that really when these gusts come in, sometimes they're quite targeted and they really do a lot of destruction. But then just around the corner, things are just fine. We're going to continue to look around here in Hernando County. We know fire employees are out here right now. We'll send it back to you, though, for now in the studio. Matthew Smith, ABC Action News.
All right, thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, that really was a pretty staggering image right there. We want to continue our coverage now in Manatee County. We've got Ryan Smith. He's been bringing us live pictures of all sorts of damage all morning long.
Yeah, he's in Ellenton where there's some mobile home damage.
Yeah, guys, that's right. We just stumbled upon this. This is probably the worst structural damage we've come across all morning so far across Manatee County. Let me show you right here this manufactured home in Tideview Estates. Irma's winds just peeled off the roof. You can see it right over here. You can see this is a portion of the roof that was, like I said, peeled off from Hurricane Irma. You also have a portion of the awning that was ripped off. And as we can see, if my photographer pans this way to the right, lots of insulation now just scattered across this person's yard. Again, to give you an exact location at where we are in Ellington, this is 45 Avenue Drive East and 17th Street East in Ellington. And I just spoke to a Manatee County Sheriff's deputy moments ago, and she tells me this is one of 2 homes in Tideview Estates that had a portion of their roof blown off during the storm overnight. I'm told this person here, thankfully, was not home. They were likely in a shelter, the deputy told me. However, the other homeowner just down the road here, well, they were home, and they're outside surveying the damage as we speak. We're going to catch up with them in just a few moments. Some other important notes that we wanted to bring to you. First responders here in Manatee County are at this point now being dispatched to calls. So if you have an emergency and you make that call, they will come to you now that the sun is coming up and they feel like it's a little safer for the men and women, first responders with the sheriff's office, the fire department, to get out there and do that. And just down the road, that deputy told me that there are 3 power poles and a couple of transformers in the roadway. That location is at 2700 block of Experimental Farm Road. That's the latest live in Ellington. Ryan Smith, ABC Action News.
All right, thank you, Ryan. It's so sad to see that damage there. We got an update from Pasco County Emergency Operations officials on what's going on there.
Yeah, we've got our own Eric Waxler with the live update. Let's go to Eric. Eric, good morning. It's nice to have you join our coverage here today. What can you tell us?
Well, good morning, guys. It definitely appears that Pasco County caught a break when it came to Hurricane Irma when the storm shifted east. On the west side, there appears to be minimal damage, although now the sun is rising and damage assessment teams will be able to go out into the community and really see. There are definitely trees down throughout the community. I believe there was a roof on a mobile home I saw that was torn off in Holiday. Most of the damage is going to be on the east side, around the Dade City area. Lacucci, I saw a tree down outside the historic courthouse in Dade City. The real concern, I think, in Pasco County is going to be flooding, not today necessarily, but tomorrow and later in the week as the flood levels rise, the water stage rises in the rivers on both sides of the county. So we'll see when it comes to that. The emergency operations director is having a briefing with all the officials right now, assessing everything and making their plan. In fact, they lifted the curfew in Pasco County at 7 a.m. and they're getting ready to go out and start moving things along. Originally, they thought they would have to wait till later in the afternoon to start the cleanup process and all that. But I think with the minimal damage, they're ready to go out there sooner rather than later. And we're waiting in just a few minutes. The emergency management director will come in here and we'll try and take that live for you and give you information as we find out. But it really seems like a lot of people fortunate in Pasco County, although half the county, 50%, we're told, still without power as of now. Live in Newport Richey, Eric Waxler, ABC Action News.
Thank you, Eric. Hurricane Irma ripped a tree out of the ground here in Palm Harbor, and you can see water spouting out at the roots. Yeah, that's actually what you're seeing. The water main that was damaged as that tree was uprooted there.
Also, some video just in of the wind blowing in Orlando. You can see those trees there just swaying in the wind there. But it looks like the palm trees there took the brunt of it, still standing tall. Heavy rains in that area as well.
And this is not something you want to see. Dozens of cars torched in Riviera Beach. And that's our next video coming up here. This is a car. Yeah, it's a car lot next to a Nissan dealership. That is quite an image. Now, the officials here are blaming this on fallen power lines, Dia. Dozens of cars torched. This is in a parking lot next to a Nissan dealership, again, in Riviera Beach.
That is incredible.
Cleanup just beginning in Hillsborough County. We've had several of our crews out there this morning. They've been showing us a lot of debris in the roadways, even some down trees.
ABC Action News reporter Isabel Rosales is back in action right now. She shows us what emergency officials are to clear debris from the streets.
And this is what crews have been doing all day and will continue to do for the next couple of hours, clearing out trees, clearing out anything that might pose a danger to drivers or to people living in the community. Right now, we've got a crew of Hillsborough County deputies, fire, rescue, we're going to follow them as they go deeper through the neighborhoods and answer these calls and rescue anybody that might need some help. Back to you.
All right, Isabel Rosales there for us with an update on cleaning in Hillsborough County.
Okay, we want to check in now with Greg D. We haven't heard from him in a while to see what this storm is doing. We're still seeing in some of those live reports, Greg, still raining and still gusty out there.
Yeah, and the sun just came up, so we still need to kind of hang back and now let the emergency crews take care of things. I'm also getting a lot of you just very concerned. You're messaging me on social media, Twitter, Facebook. What about this particular neighborhood in this town? We're not getting reports on that scale. I have no idea, honestly. I got to tell you, I have no idea how portions of specific towns, or even in some cases, specific towns are doing, because the information is so fresh. The sun is just up, and there's just such a large number of reports of trees down and power lines down. I think for most of you, you should expect trees and power lines down somewhere near you. I mean, this seems to be a theme that is returning over and over. Take a look at this shot. This was posted on my Facebook page. That is Amy, and this is from the Lithia area. Tree down, of course, the roots coming out of the ground. We've had 6, 7, 8 inches of rain, so the soil's really soft, pushing the roots right out, uprooted. Thankfully, just fell over the yard, so this is certainly an issue, but not going to be a huge one. It's just a cleanup issue. Over another picture here that was sent to me. This is in Arcadia. This was sent in. That is by Carrie. And look at this. This tree may have nicked the home there, that building there. They had some strong winds down in Arcadia, and that is the result there. Uprooted trees, the heavy rain softening the soil, and the trees just toppling in many cases. So if you do see something out your window that you can send to me, I'll show you how to do that here coming up. In Arcadia, the next several hours, winds below an hour. If you're listening to me, can't see the screen, this one's easy. Winds 25 miles an hour basically or less for the rest of the afternoon. After sunset tonight, the winds are really going to drop to very, very light. So things will be much better tomorrow for power crews. I think by this afternoon they should be able to get out there. But power crews are not going to head out there with hurricane and tropical storm warnings still up. And that's what we've got. From Lee County to Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Polk, it's a tropical storm warning. For Citrus, Hernando, and Pasco, it's still a hurricane warning. So in these areas in orange, you could still see a wind gust above 39 miles an hour. I don't think we'll see hurricane force wind gusts, Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus, but there could be wind gusts of 55 to 65 maybe. That could cause additional power outages, even though the worst of the rain is gone. The storm itself is still kind of hanging out in the area. At Greg D. Weather, Twitter and Instagram, probably the fastest way to reach me. Get dings on my phone all the time. If you're messaging me through Facebook, that's going to take some time for me to get there. So many other things we're doing behind the scenes here. Meteorologist Jason Adams and I are behind the scenes, working on graphics, working on information, looking at reports, making sure that you're updated. So the winds are becoming lighter. I think we're heading towards the end of the worst here, of the stronger winds. I think by 9 o'clock, many of you will see much calmer conditions. The rain, however, will continue, and there could be some gusty winds with that rain through at least mid to late morning. Things will be improving in a big way by this afternoon, and I think that's when we'll really start the majority of our cleanup, which means really tomorrow and Wednesday will be the 2 days when we start to restore the most power. Be patient, folks. I would plan the next 24 hours at least for most of you without power if you don't have it right now. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Greg. 7:30. We want to show you some video right now. This is from Big Cat Rescue, an animal sanctuary near Tampa. Actually, I'm sorry. This is live. This is Facebook Live with Big Cat Rescue, the animal sanctuary in Tampa, where they house exotic felines. They're checking right now for any damage. We can see what looks like flooding in that area. Again, they're just looking, trying to see if there's any damage. We don't even know at this point what they did with the animals out there, where they house the animals. Hopefully we can try to get some more information. But they're just going through right now, trying to see what kind of damage. All we can see from this Facebook Live is some flooding. but we'll try to get in touch with them and maybe get a report to see what kind of damage, see if they, if there's any kind of structural damage out there.
And again, all we're seeing is flooding. We're not seeing any cats, and we don't know what they did with them. We just haven't.
They could be housed in protective areas. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, we know Busch Gardens took all kinds of precautions to get the animals out of the way. So we'll keep you posted there.
Okay, we are getting reports of damage in Fort Myers as well, downed trees and power lines and flooding.
And we are. It was really one of the harder hit areas. ABC Action News reporter Clifton French shows us the mess that Hurricane Irma made in that area.
At first light here in Fort Myers, we're finally getting a look at this damage, and everywhere there are uprooted trees. There's an uprooted tree here. There's an uprooted tree here. We're at a storage facility near Colonial Boulevard and US 41, and you can see the storage facility sign didn't make it through this either. In the median, a bunch of smaller trees also uprooted here. The damage really just now being assessed. People just now getting out of their homes. The mandatory curfew has been lifted. It was until 7 a.m. So people getting out, assessing their businesses, assessing their home, still being told to be careful. Several roads impassable. Power lines, we know there are power lines down, and large power outages, widespread power outages. So be careful at traffic signals. Treat those all like four-way stops. We're going to head further into town, into more of a residential area, bring you updates as soon as we get them. I'm going to send it back to you.
Clifton French for us in Fort Myers. A huge tree fell onto a truck in St. Petersburg. One of our crews happened to drive by moments after it happened. The driver was headed down 25th Street when the tree just simply fell down.
Rescue crews in Sarasota were also very busy overnight. This is the scene here. They had to rescue a driver. You can't see, but there was a driver in a car trapped underneath that tree. You can see the sheriff's deputies there doing their best to pull those huge branches away. We're also still waiting for word on how that driver is doing.
And this is video we've been working to get for you here. This is just into the newsroom, an entrance to Martin County neighborhood, an entrance to a neighborhood. My goodness. Destroyed. A large sinkhole opened up here. It's an Indiantown community in South Florida. Okay, just north of West Palm Beach. Okay, we're gonna go to a live here. All right.
Apparently, this is the live video right
this is live. I wasn't sure. Yeah. Okay, this is a live look at it.
It looks like that whole road just washed away. That's one of the reasons why they tell all of us not to get back on the roads right away, because you never know what you're going to encounter. And as people are driving, had this happened at night, I'm sure it did, but if there was power out in that area, you're driving along the road and then all of a sudden it drops off. Such a dangerous situation.
It's so true. And then again, this is one of the reasons the emergency officials, I know we sound like a broken record here, but you want to stay off of the roads for reasons like that. You never know what can happen
hey, James,
when there's extreme weather.
We want to go now to Pasco County Emergency Operations Center. They're holding a news conference.